We are rolling.
Rip.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Creative Businessmen. Today we have Bryan Pierce on with us. He's an actor and a really good friend of mine. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good, man. Good to have you on.
Hey, Daniel. Nice to meet you.
What's up?
What's up?
So, since we're the creative businessmen, I have to ask, how did you get started as an actor?
Let's see. A few years ago, I was, I used to work in commercial construction, and I just, made great money. Just got exhausted with the process of being on the road all the time. And I had a bunch of friends that were bartenders, worked in the bar business. I was like, I'm just going to go be a bartender. And I quit a six-figure job in 2008. Well, actually 2009. Finished up the last contract in 2009, which is probably the worst time to quit a job before 2020. Yeah. And went around trying to get jobs bartending and had a lot of references, and a bunch of my bartender friends was like, just tell them that you bartended for a bar that no longer exists. It's still nothing, right? I mean, I had experience one time. I went into this really high-end club in Charlotte and had friends that worked there, references, put in my application, came back a few days later, and the girl that was at the hostess stand was like, can I help you? I was like, yeah. So I was like, I put in an application, I just want to check back on it. So she pulled out a folder and opened it up, and there was two folders inside that, and one said cool people, literally on the face of it said cool people, not cool people. I was not in the cool people folder. But eventually I landed a job, went out, and I've been singing since I was 6, so went out and drinking with some friends, started doing karaoke. The girl that ran karaoke heard me, Joanna Jowett, hired me to host karaoke. And so then I was like, I've always been intrigued by film, and it was just a happenstance meeting that, this really, really talented actress who's now a casting director, became friends with her. And one day I was driving along listening to Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and she was interviewing a guy named Bobby Cannavale. He's an actor, he's well known. And just something about that interview clicked with me. And I reached out to her and another girl named Jennifer, who was an actress as well and bartender I had bartended with. And they're like, yeah, hit up J.D. Lewis with the Actors Lab. So I was like, okay. Sent him an email, had an interview, was running like 2 minutes late to the interview. JD's calling me a minute after, are you here?
That's JD.
Be on time, man. And, kind of not, the rest isn't history. I mean, I guess it is, but like, I walked in as nervous as about that as anything I've ever done, because it's so vulnerable. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this,
Yeah.
I care about it. Like, I think that was the thing, is like I cared to be good at it.
Yeah.
And when you think that you possibly could be good, but you might be really bad at it, and you're taking that first step, it's a lot more like nerve-wracking and serious than if you're like, well, let's give this a shot.
Yeah.
Because actually I gave a shit,
Yeah.
So I did that. That was 2013. Yeah, 2013.
Okay.
And within
same year as me.
Yeah. Within 8 months, booked my first national commercial, and didn't have an agent. You don't.
Yeah.
Who starts with an agent unless you know somebody? And got like refusals, and I'd reached out to my first agent, and he was like, do you have a reel? And I had just found out that I booked this commercial. So BSBS. I was like, I do, but I took it down off the internet so that I could put, I'm waiting on this commercial that I just booked, this national commercial. He's like, he's from Greensboro. He's like, I'll be in Charlotte tomorrow for a basketball game. Let's have coffee. And then, hey, come up to Greensboro. I didn't make it to Charlotte. Come to Greensboro. Came up, went into a restaurant here in Greensboro and signed with him right then. And within 6 months was on Nashville.
It's awesome.
Had a role on Nashville, and then got dared to go on The Voice by another acting teacher. And it was just like, all right, I guess if I'm not good at this, at least I'm getting opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
Opportunities to try.
Yeah.
So
turns out you're good at it.
I try. But thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have fun. I have fun doing it. I was talking with
that's the main thing.
Yeah. I was talking with Jesse, sorry.
Yeah.
I was talking with Jesse a few minutes ago and about the process of doing something, and you hope you're good at it, and if you have opportunities, to get better, and you actually care, you'll have those opportunities will keep coming.
Yeah.
Some of those opportunities will come in the form of exposure. Hey, come do this. I know you're good at this. Would you come do this for free?
Yeah.
It's like, when do you make that transition between giving away what you work really hard at versus naming a price for that thing?
Yeah, that's the weird thing about acting is it's one of the only professions where when you start doing it, you do a lot of free work to get the credibility. You need to start booking the bigger gigs.
Yeah.
Because I know, that was one of the first things that JD's taught me or taught us was, start doing, student films and independent films and stuff just to be comfortable. Even if they're terrible, just do it to be comfortable being on set, taking notes from directors and working on material.
Yeah, you figure out how to operate within that weird environment because it feels weird at first. You walk in and you're like, oh, there's a camera. I got to look at the camera. It's like, no, the camera's just there to observe you. It's a fly on the wall. And it was weird because they're two different things. It's like if we're doing a dramatic scene and it's a scripted scene, well, the camera's just a fly on the wall. Right. Now, if I'm doing commercial, hi, how's it going? And all joy and all the stuff. And I went to do a callback audition for The Voice. I went to New York, stood in line at the Javits Convention Center, just open call. I think there were probably somewhere around 8,000 people there.
God.
And got a call back, so I ended up having to crash on friends' couches in New York. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, if I get a call back, it'll probably be the next day. No, it was like 5 days later.
Oh.
So I'm like, hey man, glad you're here. Do you mind if I crash on your couch? But I guess that's probably typical for people that visit New York that have friends up there.
Probably.
But everybody has 5 roommates,
Yeah.
And so I go to this callback, and there are 5 people in the room, and I'm singing. So my natural tendency, if I'm singing, is to connect with people. Well, here you have casting director, sound person, technical engineer, whatever, and there's a camera right here, and there's a piece of tape with a sign under it that says, "This is your audience." And I kept singing to the people, and they kept going, pointing at the camera, and I was so out of sorts because I'd been, training to not look at the camera.
Yeah.
That it was a little bit cognitive dissonance, but I guess if I had to do it now, it'd be like, oh, there's a camera.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was real early after I started, because I went to do my first audition for The Voice in 2013 as well.
Yeah, because it was before I met you.
Yeah.
I was 2013. I was taking private lessons with JD, and then I started in the intermediate class, I guess, in 2014. And I didn't meet you till 2015, I guess, when I started in the master class.
Oh, I think I met you before that.
Well, I may have met you, but not.
Yeah, no, I remember right when we met.
Yeah, well, that was my first night in master class. What you're thinking about?
With you and Colin?
Yeah.
I'm losing these.
You gave me the ass eye.
Let me figure this out. I'm not good with technology.
I got to hear the story though. So what happened?
Okay, so I'm running late now. I've got a hot foot on the pedal, and so at the time I was driving this little Volkswagen GTI, and I'm running late to class. And if you know JD, you are not late to class. You show up. You're on time, and I think that's just good policy anyway. But it's definitely his policy and policy throughout the industry. If you're supposed to be on set, call time is the call time.
Yep.
So I'm running late to class, and I pull in, and here's this jackass in a big old 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
2 guys. I'm like, who? Get out of the way.
I was in a Ford Raptor.
And I look over, I was like, what do you, pick a spot, man. Just pick a spot. I'm like whipping in, and I get out, I grab my bag, and they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I wasn't like trying to fight anybody. Then I realized it's 2 guys that could totally take me. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go to this act, going to class. And I walk into class and here they come.
What's funny though is I knew who Bryan was because I'd seen him on some stuff, and
Right.
and JD had talked about him, and I was like, great, man, I pissed off one of the guys in the master class already my first night there.
And I had that immediate slap back of like my urge to get to class brought out part of my personality I don't necessarily like. And so then here I am, and then normally if that happens, like I worked in the bar industry and the concert industry, if that happens, generally you're not going to see the people again.
Yeah.
And if you do,
Yeah.
in those venues, I just go, hey, go find security. I don't really want to deal with that. And now all of a sudden they're sitting across from me in class, and now I have to somehow be an example of, like I'm in the master class. Here's some guys that just came up from Tuesday, and I was an asshole. It's not a great feeling because like in class, it's a very collaborative thing. If you're in an acting class, it's a very collaborative thing. Leave your ego at the door, and come in and be vulnerable. You're just here open-hearted, open-minded to do the thing.
Yeah.
The second that your ego and all of the things that come in that stack of traits comes into play, you kind of shut yourself off from being creative.
I agree with that.
And it was definitely like that whiplash response of like, oh, okay. Hi, I'm Bryan. Sorry about that, guys. Apologize. It's a little bit of an asshole, but
We were just happy you weren't upset at us.
no, I felt really, just you guys being in class made me check myself real hard, and it turned out well because we're friends and we've been friends ever since. But but it was funny to hear your feelings about it after the fact. Yeah, you're like, pissed off one of the.
It's funny that we both clearly, vividly remember that instant too.
Oh yeah, it was just like looking at each other through the windshield, just like, I'm not going to blink. Are you going to blink? I'm not going to blink. There's not a lot of give in me, And then, oh wait, we're in acting class. I have to leave that at the door.
Yeah.
Now I gotta,
Yeah.
That's a cool thing you bring up about acting class, though. That was interesting to me because coming from the business world, where you're just really guarded and you have to protect yourself against people, so you don't get taken advantage of. With acting, it's the opposite. You're completely vulnerable. You have to be open.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. It's a good. It's really good at helping you be more open-minded, and helping you listen to other people's ideas and thoughts and stuff. And it's also like a non-judgmental environment too, which is really cool. You go into acting class and you can make mistakes and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. And it's cool to watch people grow.
Yeah, it's really cool to see people have the breakthroughs they don't know are coming.
Yeah.
And you don't really know. You're hoping that they come, but it's on their time, and it's these aha moments, the strike of lightning moments where as a teacher now, like I'm very, very fortunate that I've been trusted to teach actors now. So like I teach the beginning acting class, and I'm always rooting for people to have those moments. Like I can tell you what this feels like, but I can't show you how to get there or feel it for you. I can only, the way I feel about it in a lot of ways is that I'm a peer that's just a further down the road going like, hey, come this way.
Yeah.
And that's just probably a personality thing. There's lots of ways to teach people anything.
Yeah.
And just my way and my take on it is to go, here's my experience and here's how it felt to me. And when you have this experience, I'm going to tell you that it's going to be unlike anything you've ever experienced. Yeah. And then when you watch somebody have that light pops on behind their eyes and they have that aha moment and this breakthrough, it's like gold, man. And so, but I just tell people, like, there's no replacement for doing the work. Like you can want to be this far down the road, but this far down the road, if you are only focused on this far down the road and aren't paying attention to what's happening right now, then you're less likely to get that far down the road. But if you tuck your head in and just focus on the work, you'll end up there before you know it. You know.
I think it's got to do with repetition. I mean, I know it has to do with repetition also. I think it's kind of like any profession. I mean, like he and I have been in business for so long. There's a lot of things that we do we just take for granted. It's almost autonomous. Mm-hmm. And you know, your mind, you almost have two minds. You have like your higher thinking mind, and you have your autonomous mind, which is what you use when you walk or you chew gum or you're eating and stuff. You're not thinking about, I have to chew now.
Autonomic responses.
Yeah, it's just automatic. And I think with acting or anything like that, but you know, with arts in particular, I think it's those repetitions that you constantly put in this work, and it just becomes natural. And then, like when say you're doing an audition for, maybe it's a 5-page audition. You know, originally when I first started acting, that would have been overwhelming. Like it'd been impossible. Yeah. You know, but now I could put it on tape tomorrow, and it's just, it's like you can absorb the information, and you get the idea of what you're doing, and then you know we've been trained on how to work out the material, and as long as we put in the work and we go through it properly, the next day when you put it on tape, it's just you're not in your head thinking about dialogue. You're just living in that moment. Yeah. And it feels great. And it's like you have an experience, almost like something. It's almost like you experience it as if it really happened. Mm-hmm. Like in your mind, you're visualizing this event happening, and you've got your other choices that go along with it to make it more intense or more connected. But it's interesting, and if you don't put in the work, then you're just all in your head thinking about dialogue, and it's not good.
And it's everything, and you can see it. You can see it. It's like if you're working with somebody who hasn't put the work in, all you can see behind their eyes is what's my next line.
They're not connected. There's not a human there. Yeah. It's like you're talking to a machine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hopefully the fourth take is good.
He's been around enough actors to know that, right?
Okay. That's what's so nerve-wracking about stand-up. I've been doing stand-up comedy for about a year, just doing open mics. Yeah. And it's all live, you know. So if you fuck it up, then you got to just stick with it. Which it's like that in acting too. But
I've heard with comedy, with acting, it's like I'm looking for a response.
Well, that's true too.
Right.
Yeah.
With comedy, you're looking for one response.
Right. And you don't really know how that response is going to be. Like it could be really great, or it could be just nothing. Yeah.
If I'm acting and we're in a scene together, and I make an adjustment on my end, you'll respond to it if you're connected to what's going on.
Right.
But whatever that response is, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But with comedy, it seems you're either killing or dying.
Yeah. If your audience gets upset at you in a comedy show, you can't get mad at them. It's like
if you do,
you have to try to turn them around.
Yeah. They came to laugh. They're not laughing. They're pretty upset about it. I spent all this money, come all this way. Yeah. You know, make me laugh. You know. Yeah.
Like, I'm eating shit up here, and I'm going to clean the plate.
Ouch. Oh, man. Well, you had a bit about a shit sandwich at one point, right?
Yeah. I've got that one,
yeah. I mean, I guess if you have a bit and it works, you keep that bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, I've only been doing it for a year, so. I mean, I did that set I wrote.
Has it only been a year?
Well, when I was at the Actors Lab, I wrote a set, and I did perform at the Comedy Zone one time as an open mic. But
you did open mic in New York and in
I've done a couple open mics, but I wasn't pursuing comedy. Okay. And so I've probably done, before I started in Greensboro last year, I think I'd done like 4 open mics.
Okay.
And they were spread out over like 3 years.
Yeah. But that's why I go, it's only been a year, because in my mind, it was a couple years ago that you were down in New Orleans or in New York.
But last year, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was like mid last year, maybe like June, July, somewhere in that area. And I was like, I need to really work on my comedic writing. And so I was like, I should just start doing some open mics here locally, and maybe it'll help me get better with my timing and comedic writing and stuff like that. And showed up at the first open mic at the Idiot Box in Greensboro, and I thought there'd be like
that's a great name.
5 or 6,
like that. That's a great
5
name.
or 6 people.
Yeah.
There were 30 comics there. I was like, whoa, this is serious.
Yeah.
And some of the comedians there really, they're professional comedians. That's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And these guys tour all over, and they open for big names. Some of them are pretty big names. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I didn't realize this was here. And so I started doing it, and I really enjoyed it. And then you realize how bad you are at something when you're around people that are really good at it.
Yeah, it's deceptively hard.
Yes.
Right. It looks easy.
Right.
People that are good at it make it look easy. Same with acting.
Same with acting. Yeah.
Same with acting.
Yeah.
It's like it goes back. There's no replacement for the work.
Mm-hmm.
Putting the work in. Having worked in construction and painted, I started painting, like house painting and stuff, like 25 years ago. And since COVID started, jumped back into construction. And I like working with my hands, doing projects. I've done that for years. Even when I was bartending, somebody hit me up, I'd go build something for them. And so went to work for these guys remodeling the houses. And they're like, well, this is the price. I was like, that price is not right. You're really like you're taking advantage of craftsmen. They're like, well, we just want an investor paint job. And you're fast. And you're good. I was like, yeah. I spent 10 years getting good. I spent another 10 years getting fast and being good. So you're talking about 20, 25 years of doing this that makes me be able to do good work fast because I know the shortcuts. You don't learn that by not doing the work, right? Same with acting. Right. It's like you were talking about, you get 5 pages of dialogue. I know it's not that there are shortcuts, but I know what things I can do in the space of time.
How to figure it out quickly.
How to figure it out very quickly.
Yeah.
And when I say shortcuts, it's knowing when I can move forward.
Well, I think that's where the autonomy comes in. There's so many people don't realize when you're working on dialogue as an actor, there are so many different steps happening. Like the process, there's so many different things happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like you've got to figure out what the idea of the scene is. Then you have to figure out how you envision that scene. You've got to pick choices that have nothing to do with the scene to put you in the right mental state and emotional state to do the scene. And then you have to figure out, all the ideas within that scene, all the separate ideas, and then you're not memorizing dialogue. Yeah. You're memorizing the scene. You're learning the scene.
Yeah.
And then you're allowing the right dialogue to fall into the right places. Mm-hmm. It's hard to even explain it with words because it's such a.
One of the examples that I give is that it's how do I feel?
Right.
When I'm looking at a scene, how do I feel in this scene?
Yeah.
What is my emotional state? Because feelings create thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts create words and actions.
Right.
And so if I start with how I feel, then I have a pretty good starting spot if I can figure out what the emotion's supposed to be for the scene. And then I don't have to think about what I have to say because the word's there.
Yeah.
And if I can connect the feeling to the dialogue, there's another link in the chain. Then if my actions, blocking wise, I figure that out, then I've got something going on.
Right.
Now, it's the other part that you're talking about is all the things that subtext, the things that are happening underneath that for the most part, anybody else watching doesn't have anything to do with the scene, right?
Right.
The things that I come up with to drive my engine are going to be way different than yours because the things that push my buttons emotionally and make things go on. So I like the example that JD gives sometimes, and I forget the actor's name, but he says, if people knew what was going on inside my head during a scene of acting, I'd be certifiable.
It was Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
They could bring out the white coats,
If you want to get really scientific and technical about it too, and I think this will explain some of the difficulty in that, is chemicals in your brain create emotions. And they're created by a response to something that's physically happening to you. Mm-hmm. So like if someone came at you and put a gun in your face, your brain is going to release chemicals in your brain, in your body, and you're going to react viscerally. And you have to train yourself to be able to get to that place without anything happening to you, really.
Yeah.
So you have to get really good at daydreaming. That's
my life, man.
Like
Before
you
acting,
have to create a really good choice. You have to create another scenario that may have nothing to do with the scene you're working on, and really get your mind to believe what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
And then throw that away, keep it as a subtext.
Yeah.
And then work on the scene and have a point of view in that scene too. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
have you ever had the experience of when you have one of those conversations that you need to have with somebody, but you're not having the conversation with them? You're thinking about what you would say if this conversation came place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have a physiological response to that.
Yeah.
You can feel yourself jump.
Yeah.
It's like that.
That's it. Yeah.
It's having that, like, I wish a motherfucker would. And then you meet the person, you have the conversation, and none of the stuff that you worked up in your head has any validity, because, like, it'd be like when somebody comes and is angry at me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Because on their end, they probably worked out some stuff too, and then they realize that, you know, fighting hurts, man. I don't want to fight, you know. And so, but you work yourself up into this fury, and then you meet the person and have a conversation, and it's like, oh, they're actually reasonable. Hopefully. And if they're not, I go, well, I don't really want to punch anybody. I don't want to fight anybody. Yeah. The
conversation may not go well.
Yeah, it may not go well, but there's, all that jazz, it's like, it hurts. There's legal ramifications. I don't want to do it,
Yeah.
So, but that's what I equate it to, is that physiological, like, internal leap when you have one of those type of responses to something somebody said or conversation you might need to have with somebody. It's like that. You've invested so much mentally and emotionally in this potential conversation that you have actual reactions.
Right.
Yeah. But then you want to work those with acting. You want to work those out so that you're not jumping on cat.
Yeah, and often
really twitchy.
And often with acting, and thanks to JD, I will choose something that's way more intense of an idea than the actual scene itself.
Yeah.
So in the scene, I'm actually trying to hold my emotions back.
Yeah.
Because of the choice I've chosen for that scene is going to be a much stronger choice than what the scene is, what is happening in the scene.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's better to have more than not enough.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? So.
It's like you don't want to run out of gas midway through.
Right, yeah.
And you also don't want to shortchange yourself. Like, fortunately with acting, you get takes. You can do, let's do take two or whatever. Yeah. And, but if you don't come, like, let's say with an audition, if you don't come with some strong choices on the audition, the likelihood of you being able to exercise a strong choice on set is greatly diminished.
Right.
And making a strong choice, as strong as you can possibly make, if you don't book the role, at least you leave the audition knowing that you came to do and did the work that you intended.
Yes.
You didn't shortchange yourself.
Yeah.
Because once an audition happens, it's somebody else's decision. I have no control over that. But doing like a kind of a mediocre choice, it never feels great. It's like, I know I could do better. Why didn't I just do better?
Yeah.
It's like there's an integrity to it.
Yeah.
The integrity is all yours, because, somebody, I could objectively say, well, that wasn't really a strong choice. And we've had these conversations.
Oh yeah.
I could objectively say that, but I don't know what it took for you to make that choice.
Yeah.
Right. That's all you. That's all internal.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to making a strong choice, it's somebody else's opinion of it, whether it was strong enough is valid, but they don't quite understand what it took for me to do what I did.
And it's not just making a strong choice either. I mean, I've experienced, usually if I do an audition and I'm not happy with it, it means I didn't invest enough time in that choice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a really strong choice, but you really have to be invested in that choice.
Yeah.
And you have to spend the right amount of time digging into that choice and delving into that, whatever that is,
Yeah.
to make it set in, Yeah.
Well, I mean, and sometimes you don't have the luxury of time. You have businesses, a family, and I have life, whatever. We all have life going on. You get an audition, and some of the bigger ones, they have 24-hour turnaround.
Yeah.
48-hour turnaround.
Usually the network stuff is quick.
Yeah, 48 hours is a luxury.
Yeah.
And if you get a 24-hour turnaround on something and you get it midday on a Wednesday, it's due midday on a Thursday. Well, I have class on Wednesday night, so I still have to finish work.
Yeah.
Get ready for class for whatever work I'm doing in class, have class, tape the thing, edit the thing, get it in.
Time.
And then get up in the morning and go to work. And so you don't have the, if it happens on a day where I don't have anything going on, then it's like, all right, I can close the door.
It's a lot easier.
Pull the curtains and just go into it,
Yeah. You said something earlier I wanted to get back to about your work, because he and I have talked about it before. People trying to find the cheapest subcontractors to do the job, but the work may not be as high quality and their speed may be slower. So I think if you go too cheap, you can actually lose money because you lose productivity. Things may have to be redone, or they may not look good, so you lose value. And we'd rather hire somebody that's reasonably priced, but much higher quality work and faster than lose time, because time is more valuable than.
Yeah, and the hard thing, I think, with some of the stuff is when you are one of these subcontractors, regardless of the relationship, like outside of the business aspect of it. Like I've been friends with one of the guys for years, and the other guys were super cool guys, and this is not just this has happened in a lot of other situations, but if you're, regardless of the other facet of the relationship, if you're a subcontractor and you suggest that as an idea, it could very well be seen as you trying to find an angle on it. And it's like, no, I'm not trying to find an angle. I don't want to do another aspect of the work. I just want to do what I do. Like I'm good at what I do. But you're telling me the issues you're having with other aspects of the work, and having done this long enough, I'm just here to tell you, spend the money now or you'll spend it later,
Yep.
Buy once, cry once.
Don't cut corners.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think I like people that know what they're doing, that are confident about what they do, so that they can provide guidance too. Like if I come to you and all I'm simply doing is trying to get the best quote, but I don't even know what it is I need, I might talk to you and you may say, hey, we really need to consider this, and this, and all these things. There's no way that this guy could do it for $3,000. Let's say some arbitrary number.
Yeah.
Because he's got to do this, and this. He's probably just taking you at face value and doing exactly what you're asking for, and he's just going to ignore the fact that he's not going to do these other things, which is going to lead to a problem down the road.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather spend more and have the peace of mind that whoever's going to do it's going to take responsibility for. And if something does happen, that was their responsibility. That it'd be obvious to them that they would have to fix it.
Yeah, and it's pay enough for good quality.
Yep.
But also with the good quality, you're paying enough for somebody to care.
Yeah.
If you don't pay enough for people to care, you're the only one caring about the end result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you get to the point where you're not paying people that do care enough to care, they're going to end up going, this is not a situation that I want to continue to be in, because I can remember jobs that I did 13 years ago where, because of the nature of the job, the time that we were doing it, we did all restaurant remodels and working all third shift. And there are certain things, and the restaurant had to be operational from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you had 12 hours to tear it down, fix it, and put it back together. the remembering things that worked functionally and were acceptable, but not to my mind, that I still think about 13 years later about a job that haven't had for over a decade. And I go, well, the only way to mitigate that is to just do the work that I care about and do it to the level that I want to do it. And if whether financially or situationally, long term it's not possible, then it's not possible for me to work there. That's a value judgment that I make.
Yeah.
And there's just not, I don't think the money's any money, and regardless of the situation, any money's good enough to lose sleep 10 years later for something.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Why?
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's just not. It doesn't. At least for me, this is a personal thing.
Yeah.
That I just want to work. I want to do good, cool, creative things that I'm interested in. Clock continues to tick. Time is, very valuable.
Yeah.
And I want to do cool, creative things that I'm interested in, and things that I can go back later and go, I did that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah. And that was one of your issues before when you were in construction years ago, right? I know you've told me the story, but and maybe you want to share it again, but we've talked about how I think 85% of Americans are unhappy with what they do, and it may just be because of they hate their job or they're in a business situation where they have a bad business partner, which I think you kind of had some of the both in that.
I don't think it was necessarily a bad business partner on that respect. I think it was just competing ideas about what it was supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
It really was. Because I don't think there was any nefarious or malicious intent on anyone's part. And I was young. I went from making $10 an hour to making six figures in a space of a year, and which was crazy. I grew up with nothing, and to start earning that kind of money where you was like, okay, I don't know what to do with all this. I guess I'll just go buy stupid shit.
Yeah.
And,
The American dream.
Yeah. And so it hit me eventually after years on the road and working third shift, and I'll be gone for 6 weeks, come home for 2. The only people I'm really seeing in any social aspect are the crew of guys I'm working with, and I'm the boss, so it's not like, it's cool to hang out and have a beer with them, but there's no, at some point I have to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
At some point I have to, I might have to, put my foot in it, and say, we got to get this done. And I need in my mind, it needed a bit of a separation from, some people can't switch roles that way. Some people
Right.
can't understand. Today I'm wearing friend hat. Tomorrow I'm wearing boss hat.
Yep.
And so I just, as a way of just not crossing those lines, I tended to be a bit more insular and not do that. And it started to get real lonely and real, how do I talk to people? What, I'm a very social person, and I don't, I come home after 6 weeks on the road working third shift and everybody else's day shift, and then I'm going to hang out with everybody, and all their jokes are inside jokes because they've been hanging out, and I'm the guy that's playing catch up the entire time.
Right.
And it was a lot of things. So it was a lot of those things where it's like the money's great, but it ain't that great.
But you're also an employee, and we
Yeah.
always encourage people to be self-employed and
Yeah.
be your own boss, and
Yeah.
eventually be the one running the show.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a lot of your issue too, is you weren't. It wasn't your thing. It wasn't your gig.
Yeah, I couldn't say when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only way to say when was to completely go. Yeah.
And now I'm sure you're way happier now that you are the owner of the business. And
Yeah, I definitely am, and it's reawakening old experiences and going, oh yeah, I can do this. This is something I'm good at.
Yeah.
Because it's something I just almost completely shelved for a decade.
It may be another thing too that people that are like all three of us, entrepreneurial people, even Jesse, I guess, we're not happy working for other people, but we can do a good job.
Yeah.
We can work really well for other people, but we're happiest when we're doing our own thing, like what we want to do.
There's just, I think, at least for me, it is like at some point, if I'm working for somebody else and they tell me to do something that I know is just like, that's wrong, or that doesn't make sense. Like they're thinking about one of the guys that we're working for now is a good friend of mine, and regardless of any business aspect, is like we just talk about a lot of things. He goes, most people wake up and think about breakfast. I'm thinking about what I'm having for dinner on Saturday. I'm thinking way ahead, and when I have somebody that I'm working for, that I'm an employee of, that just kind of gives me something to do that is, I don't know, I don't say, but it's below my capacity. It just starts to feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm aware of the clock ticking.
Wasting your potential.
Yeah, I'm aware of the clock ticking, and I just go, I want to do things that, if I do something that wastes my time, I've made that decision. But if I'm just collecting a paycheck and watching the clock tick, I'm definitely not happy.
Yeah. Do you want to share your epiphany during all that, like your moment of realization that you were doing the wrong thing?
Oh yeah, sure. Because that could lead into a whole.
I'm sure it'll help a lot of people.
Other conversations. Yeah. I mean, it could lead into the whole, mental health aspect of things.
Right. Yeah.
We were working down in Albany, Georgia, and I was like on my third 100-hour work week, because while we worked 12 hours a day, or we were 10 to 10, like it was my job. I was the project manager, so I'm managing anything that comes in, because you're working out of a Connex box. There's only so much limited storage space, and working with the managers, also talking with business partners, or whoever I need to speak with, and those conversations happen between 9 and 5. Nobody wants to get a phone call at 3 in the morning about something. So I think it was like my third 100-hour work week, and I was like, you know what, I'm crashing. I'm no good. And I was 30. That was 2008. So I was 20. What was that, maybe 20?
30, 31?
Yeah, I was like 30.
Yeah.
31, I think. And I felt like I was old, but I was like, I'm dying here, man. And so I went and got my guys going. I was like, I have got to go get some sleep. So I'm driving my car back to the hotel, and I'm on the highway, and however fast thoughts run through your head, could have been that long, could have been thinking this for miles. I don't even know. I was just kind of went into a fugue, and it was wonder what would happen if I yanked the wheel of my car right now at 80 miles an hour. Would it flip? How many times? Would it hurt? Would I die? If I didn't die and I was in the hospital and 6 hours from home, would anyone come see me? Would anyone give a shit? And however long it took that thought to pass through my head, I was like, what the fuck? And so I got to the hotel, and I sat on the edge of the bed, and I was like, what was that? That's not me. That's not how my brain works. Like, I love life, and I'm excited about what's around the next corner, and why am I thinking these thoughts? This is not cool. And I was like, it's 3 a.m. Who am I going to call? Who do I talk to about this to square this up for me? And so I sat there and thought about it. I was like, the only thing I can see is not do this, because this is what puts me here under this measure of stress, under this measure of exhaustion. And so I called my partner the next day. I said, whenever we satisfy the last contracts that we've already signed, I'm out. I'm done. Are you sure? Yes. Done. Quit, a really high-paying job at the worst time that you could possibly quit a job like that. But it was that thing of like, there's no situation, no amount of money, no extended circumstance. Like I understand, there are going to be times where you have to put your shoulder to the wheel. You're going to lose sleep. If you want to see your goals and your dreams accomplished, it's going to require that. But to do it to the point where you lose who you are, lose what you value, to the point where just to feel something, you wonder if you have to do something drastic like that. No. That's whatever it is. I made that decision that whatever happens there has to go.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that there haven't been hard times since and struggles since and where you're sitting there wondering, what am I doing with my life and whatever. But I've never been back to that point. And, if that was the high water mark for being stressed out, then I know that's the full stretch on my rubber band,
Right. Yeah.
And I just don't. I'll put myself in situations to test that in terms of like desire to achieve something. But if I find myself getting to that point again, I'm like, there's no point for me to push past that and then find myself where I've lost myself.
Yeah.
So
I wanted you to share that because I think there are a lot of people that have real talent, but they're just stuck in, they've settled for something that they're not happy with. Mm-hmm. And they're just going through the motions every day. And, a lot of people are afraid to step out of their comfort zone and pursue something that they could be really good at or they could be really happy with. Because change is difficult sometimes. It usually is difficult. Mm-hmm. And, but also big opportunities can come with change too.
Absolutely.
And I know a few years ago when Daniel was getting back on his feet, he stepped away from a really good job that he temporarily taken. He knew it was temporary when he did it, but he was making a lot of money. Subjectively a lot of money, but not. I'm sure not to you, but to most people, it was a really good job. And even I remember when you finally decided to step away from it, someone gave you a hard time about it.
Yeah.
And but you knew that it wouldn't matter. But
it was hard though. The longer I stayed there, it would have just continued to get harder and harder to leave.
Yeah.
So I see exactly what you're saying. I think each person's just got to figure out what it is they're willing to sacrifice. I guess the only thing, like when someone makes a decision, you walked away from a 6-figure income to potentially make nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an awesome decision to make as long as you understand the consequence of it.
Yeah.
Where I deviate is where people think they can walk away from the position and then they get upset when they're chasing their passion that they're not making the 6 figures.
Yeah, they feel that. I can't speak for other people, but to me that would feel like a sense of entitlement.
Right.
Like I don't.
That's
I
had
a conversation.
That's the part where I draw a line. I'm like,
Yeah, I had a conversation with my brothers a few years ago, and both of them are, they're married and they have families, and they and their spouses are high earning people, and nice houses, nice cars, all the things that come with that. Because both of my brothers are car guys. They're both master mechanics, and have always been car guys. I've always been like I love cars, but like I know what they cost, and I was like, that's not where I'm going to spend my money. I'm going to go see stuff,
right.
Do stuff, and so we were having the conversation. They're like, hey, this is after I had walked away, and this is in the midst of not vow poverty, but just like choosing more of an artistic pursuit and willing to shoulder whatever comes with that in terms of like, well, I guess I'm just not going to go on vacation this year or whatever.
Right.
And they were like, do you ever get jealous of us? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, we got a nice house, car, and you're at the time I was in my late 30s, and they're like, you're in your 30s and you're making it work, but you do. I was like, no. I was like, because if I want what you have, I do what you do.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what you do.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm not going to have what you have. Eventually, maybe, but I'm going to get it the way that I'm getting it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I think that's is the comparison is the thief of joy. To look at somebody else and go, well, I want what you have, and I'm not willing to do what you do, but I should still have it. That's entitlement that I don't think is appropriate.
It's not productive either.
It's not. You get stuck in that loop.
It's delusional.
And we're also I think we're fed that marketing machine feeds us this idea that you should have this thing. Therefore, you are willing to leverage everything that you haven't earned yet to have something right now that makes you feel good right now. But next thing you know, that TV is going to be obsolete. You know, the 40 inch, you need the 50 inch, and the 50 inch, you need the 65 inch. You know, it's like at some point, you know, can you still watch TV on it? Can you still enjoy your Netflix streaming shows on that? You know? Yeah, you can. And then put some money in some other place that maybe would feed an actual dream, not something that you want to
invest.
Yeah.
Instead of our society does not promote delayed gratification at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Promotes consumerism.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And impulsive behavior.
Yeah. Which and from a business standpoint, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you want people to buy your shit.
Yeah, obviously. You're like, and if I can put it in front of you in the prettiest colors and the coolest fonts, then maybe more of you will like it. And then if I can get it now with the new rise of influencers, if I can get it into the right influencers' hands, which, you know, they have their value, I guess, in some sense. But like to me, it's like I don't really care.
I do think there is some importance in that, though, and I think some of it is not. I think some of it is beyond our understanding as humans. I think that some of it is just evolution. Like we don't know why we're creating all this technology, or we're constantly developing and creating and building things. And
is
these
that the
things,
great why we're here? You know, why are we here?
We don't know.
We
Nobody
don't know.
knows.
Nobody
Really.
knows. But you know the need to make. I think part of that is, you know, the whole advancement of technology and all that stuff is the need, this innate need to find meaning.
Yeah, and I think we
create
are.
meaning.
It is making, I think, things better, society better as a whole overall, because technology is it creates greater resources for people. It
In the right hands.
what's that?
In the right hands.
Yeah, but I think it's
Could be, you know, Darth Vader out there.
well, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it could go the wrong way for sure. But the way it's been going so far. Poverty is decreasing.
Yeah.
You know, hunger's decreasing. People they have access to more resources. I think a lot of things will eventually be subsidized through technology. I think maybe as soon as 20 years in the future, most of our basic needs will be subsidized through technology and marketing somehow.
How would marketing subsidize our needs?
Well, because that'll fund most of it. People trying to market their different products.
But if nobody's buying?
Well, you know, that's the weird thing about society as a whole is a construct, right? It's what we believe it is, and same with money and everything else. So in today's society, in our technological society, there's a lot of value in people just looking at your products. Yeah. You know, or
eyeballs.
Just attention, just getting your attention. And there's so many people. And the population's continually growing. We're at 8 billion right now globally. In 20 years, it may be at 13 billion or 15 billion.
Which is crazy to me that like we're at 8 billion, and I'll be 45 in October. And when I was born, we were
like 5. Yeah.
Right around 4.
It's almost doubled.
Doubled in my lifetime.
Yeah. But I think with technology, a lot of things will be subsidized. I think a lot of like your physical labor will be subsidized. Even a lot of your higher paying executive jobs will be subsidized, and I think eventually just the cost of being a human will be subsidized with technology. Hopefully, you know, they could. The wrong hands, you know, easily that same technology could be used to make us all, you know, mental slaves to
we become
whatever.
We become the Matrix, and then we wake up and we're in a pod.
But I think it's just evolution. I think we're probably creating our replacement somehow, or what we're going to evolve into.
Well, I think we have to.
Yeah,
we have to. We can't go like it. I think it's pretty clear that we can't continue the way we're going.
Right. Yeah.
Not at the growth of population, the use of natural resources, and the lack of and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. Like that just those couple of issues you just see the toilet flushing, right? It's
Well, like I said, if you look at the data, those things are getting better. And I think right now, with all the chaos we're dealing with now as a society, I think a lot of that is just.
Do you think the wealth disparity is getting better?
It is, yeah. Statistically, it's getting better.
Okay.
I've mentioned this now probably 4 or 5 times, but Steven Pinker, he's a brilliant psychologist. He wrote a book called Enlightenment Now, and he shows that throughout time, we actually live in the safest time and in the most prosperous time in human history.
Which is hence the population growth, because there's less things to kill us.
Right. Yes.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, because
Technology and science advanced.
if you run into somebody that you really just hate, and they just seem completely incompetent, they would be dead 200 years ago.
Of course,
They wouldn't survive.
There'd be no repercussions.
Right.
It's like, you know,
But our society is becoming safer. The resources are becoming more abundant, and we're still not to a place where everybody has all their basic needs and stuff like that. But I think we will be eventually. And I think a lot of the chaos we're dealing with in our society now is we're adjusting to these rapid changes in technology and information. Because now, I mean, you think just when we were kids, we were, growing up, we didn't have access to this kind of technology and information. It wasn't available. Like, we had libraries, and if you wanted to really learn about the world or about technology and that type of stuff, you'd have to put in a lot of time to research that information. Whereas now, we have unlimited information, and now we have to learn how to sift through the information to find out what's real and what's not.
we have the wealth of human knowledge in our hand, and we just want to watch people dance on TikTok.
That too.
I'm guilty. But I'm just saying, like, it is weird because we just go to what's easy as opposed to actual research.
And our news is all marketing now. It's not real news. The majority, 98% of our news has some type of marketing incentive behind it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's trying to push something. Yeah,
it's. I was thinking something the other day. Like, I was on Instagram. Speaking of social media stuff, but I was on Instagram and I saw an ad for something that I thought was interesting. So I clicked on it and it sent me to their website. I'm at your website now, and you still give me pop-ups about things on your website. It's like, just let me look, right? It's the equivalent of going to the mall and walking in, and then somebody just standing there. Can I help you? Can I help you? No, I know my sizes. I'm in the men's section. Let me take a look. If I need help, I'll ask you.
It sounds like having all the employees in that store around you, though.
Just let me enjoy the work that you put into your site without bombarding me with things so that I'll just click out and go home.
Right. Or when you open an app and you go to select what you want to select, it moves, so you'll hit the wrong button. Oh. I hate that.
Oh, and then you're like,
I want to delete the app.
How do I get back? What did I just click? I don't need this. Yeah. Buy it now.
Whoever created that feature, I just want to smack them.
I'm sure, like, that it would be interesting to see the data on that, because, like, does it actually work? And
it's intentional.
Yeah, it's totally intentional.
Yeah, it works. It gets me all the time.
But, like, do people actually follow through? And
no, I always close it immediately.
I'm done.
Because it irritates me.
I've lost interest in whatever you're telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's an individual thing, as much as.
But I'm sure it does work, because they wouldn't be doing it if it didn't. So.
Yeah.
It has to work for a lot of people.
It's it is, like, in the craziness and times that we live, it does seem like the loudest voice is the most believed, regardless of how accurate or
data.
Facts, the data or whatever. It's just who has the loudest voice can do something crazy enough that we'll pay attention to them, regardless of what they're saying, and, like, a huge turnoff for me, because I grew up very conservative Christian, grew up in a Pentecostal church, right? And so I'm used to, preachers from the pulpit, God can save you, and just, like, yelling at me. And after a while, you just go, cool, you said that already. I don't need to hear that again. You said that, and give me new information. How? And so after a while, I just go, I'm hearing nothing new, so let me go look around. And it was, growing up, and this is not I don't want to be despairing against anybody that has a belief system, because I think that's a powerful and wonderful thing. You know,
Yeah.
My brain just tends to want to see what's on the next page and want to see what's on the next page, and but after a while, I was like, okay, I can't. This isn't serving me anymore. So I need to move on. And so when you come from a situation like that where it's all about what you can't do, and then they're not yelling. I think they're, you know, that type of oratory is meant to be inspirational, but it tends to grate on my nerves a little bit. It's like, okay, let's sit down and have a conversation, which is why, I mean, thank you guys for having me on the podcast, because this is what I gravitate to.
Right.
Like when podcasts first started, I was like, why do I want to listen to a conversation? It's like, oh, yeah, because they're actually just talking to each other. And
Yeah.
you might have to sift through them. There's probably going to be some boring parts in this, you know. But like there might be some boring parts, but like it's people having a conversation,
right?
And if you pick the right, you know, I can select what subjects I'm interested in, comedy, science, whatever, and I can hear a conversation about it.
It's mind sharing information.
Yeah, being fired away at, and you know, they still have them, I think, but like it used to be the debates. You'd have like the atheist debating the Christian, or you'd have the scientist debating the Christian. You know, it tends to be belief versus fact.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways,
Science versus
those
theology or something.
Theology. Yeah. And you know, the last one I recall even paying attention to on that front was like Bill Nye debating the guy who runs the museum. I can't remember. They have the big model of the
Neil
Ark.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No. No, he
Are you
runs
talking about the Ark of the Ark Museum?
Yeah. It has
okay.
the Ark Museum, and the moderator asked, he's like, "Is there anything that would change your beliefs?" And Bill Nye said, "Science." And the Ark Museum guy was like, "Nothing."
Typical religious response.
That's where I got to with religion, was like, well, if nothing can change my belief system, and I'm believing something that all new information flies in the face of, in my mind, my estimation, I'm not being like, I'm not in the right lane here.
Yeah.
You know, I need to move on, because there was just too much information coming out.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, like I'll give you an example, and this could get a little I don't want to, it could get a little sketchy for somebody that might be listening or watching.
Yeah.
They can put on their earmuffs.
Yeah, and they can skip it.
all right.
They can skip it. That's fine. But like, okay, so growing up, in terms of things you can't do, is like you can't listen to rock music, can't watch TV, can't go to movies, no facial hair for guys, no long hair for guys, no short hair for women. No jewelry, no makeup. Guys can't wear shorts. Guys at one point couldn't wear short sleeves. Very, very strict stuff.
You just can't compromise the ideology.
Yeah, and so, and you talk about technology changing, right? So this is where I'm going with it. I kept getting in trouble for going to movies, which
It seems
so
crazy.
ludicrous, right?
Right, that is.
And you talk about going to library earlier.
Yeah.
When we would go to the library, I would get books about movie making, filmmaking, and practical effects and things like that, because I was interested. I was like, wow, that's cool. You know, it's always, you want the forbidden fruit, right?
Oh yeah.
So I would go and get the books about things I couldn't do, and so then I leave church. I leave going to a church, and the people that I had spent years of my life with, formative years of my life, till teen years up to young adult, just quit talking to me, a lot of them. Fast forward to 2013, 2014, I end up on Nashville, right? And now we have social media, and I get reached out to by people that used to talk to me, that I used to go to church with.
Oh.
And they're like, saw you on Nashville. And I was like, how? Oh, we can watch TV now.
Wow.
Really? All the shit I got in trouble for? You can do that now. All the years, in my formative years, of me feeling like I'm doing absolutely nothing wrong, but I'm getting in trouble in front of people that I respect.
Yeah.
But you can do that now. And this is where my mind went. Initially, it was super dark, and I was like, fuck these people, man. You know?
Yeah.
And then it was like, you know what?
That's cult-like behavior.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
well, whatever it takes for people to come to some epiphany or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I started realizing the reason that you can ban certain things from people is that you can ban the technology, right? So when I'm growing up, a TV is the size of this coffee table, right? If my friends come over and we have a TV and they tell their parents and their parents tell the powers that be in a church situation, then all of a sudden we're called on the carpet because we have the technology. Now,
Everybody has the technology.
I can watch whatever I want. They can't control it anymore. So, well, might as well make it okay.
It's a part of us.
Might as well make it
Yeah.
okay. But it wasn't okay, right? It was
Right.
okay. And in my mind, it was like, okay, well, why was it not okay before?
Right.
And the reasoning was, well, you know, we're trying to be closer to God and God sees all and blah, blah, blah.
This is a secular activity, I guess.
And I go, well,
Kinda like
here's the
being human.
thing. The scripture says Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Really? Because now you're congratulating me for being on a television show when less than 10 years ago, I was in trouble for watching one.
It's weird.
Yeah.
What got me with religion
weird.
was just the fact that there's about 10,000 different religions in the world, and they all believe they're right. They all have serious convictions about their beliefs, and if you look into it, you know, like the oldest recorded religion is about 15,000 years old, and it's something that's like a pre-Hinduism, and so it's something. I look at actual religion as something that was necessary to keep people in line before technology, before we were so connected. It was a way to help people be more cooperative with each other and not want to kill each other.
Yeah.
Because if you think about physical things in the world, like the studio, everything that we see started as an idea. In one person's mind or in maybe millions of minds. Everything that exists that we've manipulated are ideas. And just because you can touch them doesn't make them any different than other ideas. An idea is an idea. It's still a real thing. Like a religious ideology is still an idea.
Yeah.
So if you can instill that same idea into millions of people's minds, it's a real thing. It's a real construct they all believe in. So it connects all those people in that similar way, and it's almost like a constraint.
And they're willing to take physical action
Yes,
for a belief. So therefore, the idea becomes
real.
a physical thing.
Yeah.
Whether that be the way they worship or even to the point of doing worse.
Yeah, or hurting people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, how many millions of people have been killed because of religious ideologies?
Yeah.
But,
Of all sorts.
and I don't have a problem with religion or spirituality. I have my beliefs, you know, but I've come to the realization that we don't really know anything.
Yeah.
We don't understand.
Yeah. I'm there with you. And I tend to think more that, you know, there's the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
That's the religion,
Yes.
right?
Being a
Like,
good human.
I
Yeah.
explain it like this. I don't like bad feelings, so I don't want to give away things I don't like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So I want to, you know, I want to work with and, you know, together with people in a way that allows it to be, you know, a flow of hopefully good things.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's, you know, you want to call it a humanist? I don't know. I don't know what you would slot that under, but just like, you
Sure.
know, do good to others. Do good, be good.
Right. Well, you know that that's part of what Steven Pinker had showed in the data also was that as time progresses and technology increases, we become less violent toward each other.
Yeah.
And that's why Homo sapiens have survived as long as we have. We haven't been here a super long time, but I think they're guessing 300,000 to 400,000 years. But during that time, we've outlived like 4 other species of hominids because they weren't cooperative. Like our cooperation with each other is what's made us successful.
Allowed us to continue.
And the more we cooperate with each other, the more successful we will be as a species.
Regardless of certain aspects, and society's going back to the Bronze Age, but like where certain aspects of society want to take control and then control others and things like that. You're talking about ideas, and I read a book a few years ago called A World Lit Only by Fire, and it's about the loss of information from the fall of Rome until the Renaissance.
Yeah.
And it talks about how any new information, and I'm really paraphrasing, it's a great book, if you should check it out. Any new information came forth under patronage of either royalty or religion. And if you had a new idea and you weren't under patronage, we're talking like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, great thinkers, any great thinkers of that era of the Dark Ages.
Right. Yeah.
Michelangelo, I think, was
Before that, bro.
Before that.
Yeah.
But anything that happened in terms of new information, artistic pursuits, whatever, if they didn't happen under patronage, you could be burned at the stake as a heretic, as a witch.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And you think about the ones who made it, the ones who, because of patronage, and they stayed under patronage as power shifted, right?
Yeah.
Like take Florence, Italy. All the great art that happened in Florence, Italy, and that was under patronage of one family, the Medici family.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and they happened to have a long run. But if there had been a war or things had shifted, and you were loyal to person A and person B decided to clear the court, then all that was lost.
Yeah.
Right, and how much information for that massive period of years was completely lost.
Right.
Well, how much further would we
Just
be?
think about stuff that happened in history, like the burning down of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah,
How much
I was thinking about that too.
information was totally wiped? We're not going to know. They could have had all kinds of stuff figured out then.
There is a speculation that a lot of the stuff that was in the Library of Alexandria is actually in the Vatican, though,
I believe it.
so that they control it.
And they can hide a
and
lot
then
of
there's
stuff too.
there was the library. When Notre Dame burnt
Oh yeah.
last year, right? They had ancient books. Were they able to save them? If they did, they're
Hopefully digital.
hopefully
but-
they were digitized.
I think some of that stuff, I'm sure we've lost some really valuable information, but I think that the advancement of our society is largely based on the growth of our population too, because we're all connected somehow.
We have to be.
Yeah, and our brains work together. I always say we're like the conscious ants
We have to
in
be.
nature.
Like that they're thinking of ideas, like, right?
Yeah.
The example I always think about is the telephone. Like, why did the telephone come to prevalence when it did? And it happened in multiple parts of the world. And Alexander Graham Bell was just the first person to file the patent.
Well, look at
But the idea
Yeah.
of it. How does an idea sprout in multiple minds?
That's weird. Yeah.
Because now we're all connected, especially through technology. Then, they had a telegraph,
yeah.
right? How did multiple ideas sprout around the world at the same time?
What's really fascinating is you look
Roughly.
at ancient humans and you look at their drawings and stuff, or their architecture. It's all similar.
Yeah.
And they had nothing to do with each other. These are people that didn't know they each other existed.
Yeah, smoke signals, if that.
Yeah, they're drawing drawings that are very similar, geometric shapes. They're building pyramids all over the world. All these things are they're intrinsically human.
Yeah.
And
Have they figured out how the pyramids were built?
they have
figured it
some.
out yet?
They have some pretty good ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it was. I've seen some documentaries that they have a pretty good idea of how they engineered them. They would do it with like bringing in tons of dirt, and as they build it, build the dirt up so they could
Slide the rocks.
slide the rocks
These
and then clean it all off when they get done.
5
Yeah,
like slabs of granite.
Tremendous, yeah.
That were like quarried 500 miles from where they sit now.
yeah.
500 miles.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Fit perfectly.
And fit perfectly. Can you imagine, like 500 miles? Like tomorrow I'm driving to Atlanta, and I like a good road trip, but that's about, I don't know, less than 200, you know? And I'm going to be hopping in the car, AC, rolling. Still going to take me
What?
3.5,
You're
4
in
hours.
construction, so maybe you can appreciate this.
Yeah.
There are people that are actively in construction today that couldn't build that pyramid with that precision.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Most could not.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Why would they?
Yeah.
Especially with primitive tools.
Especially the internal blocks. It's like, no, then they'll never see it.
But you know, they actually had they had technology back then to cut those stones with I think they used water. It's pretty amazing, like the tools they had,
Like,
and they had a lot of manpower too. You know, they had
Yeah.
nothing else to do, so everybody was doing that.
yeah, might as well. Hey, it's like a extreme barn raising.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like,
pretty much. Yeah.
why don't y'all come over? We'll have a cookout.
Could you see the
Build a
Egyptians?
pyramid.
Could you see the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, watching people do a barn raising now? They'd be like, "Oh, that's cute, guys.
Oh, that's so cute.
How long has it been?"
Like I was proud that, like I was telling you about putting in these LVL beams the other day.
Oh yeah, that was
they're
impressive.
Triple stacks, like 1.5 inches wide, 18 inches tall, 22 feet long, tied to one that's 1.5 inches wide, 14 inches tall by 17 foot long. But the 22 footers triple stacked, so had to be all screwed together inside of a house, and then take the walls out. And I'm pretty proud of it. I did that framing job in
Very
4
cool.
days, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. It's me and 3 other guys putting all this stuff together, and I felt pretty cool. And then we start talking about the pyramids, like,
It's not impressive anymore.
yeah, I gotta go.
Subjectively
I gotta do
impressive.
something cooler, man. it's like.
What's really interesting is how, and scientists don't understand this, but how quickly we evolve. So what's weird to me is how different humans are from all other animals. Like you know, our cognitive abilities and our self-awareness and consciousness. I mean, the closest things to us are also mammals. They're, you know, dolphins and whales and orcas, and then primates, obviously.
Yeah.
But we're still way more advanced than all the other animals, and it's just us. Like, why aren't other animals conscious like we
I think
are?
sometimes my dog is like, he's thinking some stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
it's
yeah.
not like the stuff you're thinking though.
I know. I think as humans, it is weird because you can have a thought, and
Yeah.
then you can step back from that thought and observe it
Yes.
and go,
Maybe also one of the things that
that's
happened
not a great thought. I'm not gonna.
over the course of time is we did away with all the other hopeful contenders who could think, you know.
Well, that's
Maybe,
true. Yeah, but they have a good
Definitely
idea.
primates, but you know.
Yeah. Well, Neanderthals were pretty close to us, and so was Homo erectus, but they were still different. Like Neanderthals specifically, they've found some of their camps, and the largest numbers of Neanderthals were like 50 people,
Right.
50 individuals, whereas the human camps were like 150. So our cooperation likely allowed us to survive longer, and we may have killed them off, or they may have just died off because of a lack of what's the word?
I know they believe that there's Neanderthal like DNA in humans. Like
Oh
a
yeah,
tiny
100%.
little
Yeah,
bit,
and
know.
Homo erectus,
Mhm.
both, which is interesting. But there was a lack of diversity.
Yeah.
Probably they
Yeah.
just
So therefore they become susceptible to one thing can kill all
right.
of
Yeah.
them.
Well, and also you don't have the DNA to keep spreading.
Yeah.
You know, keep populating.
You know, during COVID, everybody's talking about herd immunity, which, you know, and then, asymptomatic, you know,
Yeah.
people that are asymptomatic. And so one person is going to really succumb to it, and the other person's going to be like, had a little coffee the other day, that was fun.
My thing
Yeah.
about herd immunity is like, you know, you ever heard of like the Mayans and the Aztecs, you know, Cortez and a couple of guys visited, everybody's sick, everybody
Killed
died.
everybody just for being
yeah,
there.
Yeah, but like,
Chickenpox.
yeah.
Smallpox.
Smallpox.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what- Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Smallpox, yeah.
and now we have because of travel, and because of things where people of, you know, even in this country, it was illegal to marry somebody outside of your own race within
Yeah.
the past century.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
It's true.
That's where the marriage license came from in the United States.
Yeah.
They did it to prevent interracial
Yeah.
marriage.
Interracial
And-
marriage.
And the tax as well.
Yeah, and so in our, I think it happened like right before I was born. So it was like either late 60s, early 70s.
62, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe it was 72.
It was not. It was within the past like 60 years.
Yeah. It may have been 72 actually.
But like now making that not illegal, which is ridiculous to
Insane,
me.
yeah.
You know, we talk about a bunch of other things with that, but like, then you have, it's now anything that you can, people can mate and people can, you know, procreate and things like that, where that just spreads the DNA further. So it's like you're more tents or more stakes in the tent, you know, keeps it stronger.
Strengthens Homo sapien species,
you know, And, you know, you're talking about like they had camps of like 50 people, you know, and Joe Rogan had a good point about that. He's like, if I had my camp and I had like 40 people in my camp and you had 40 people in your camp, he goes, and I decided to light up a joint and you came over, hey, that's illegal, you can't do that. It's like, get the fuck out of my camp, man.
Yeah.
You know, you can't tell me what's, I picked this plant, I can burn it, and now you tell me it's like, what is that? What is, like, I get that, like.
Yeah, if you're free, then how can one person who's the same thing you are tell you what you can or can't do with your own body?
You know,
as long as it's not affecting other people,
as long as it's not affecting other people. Like you know, was it you that I was talking to about the seatbelt law?
Maybe.
I was talking with somebody about the seatbelt law, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, cool. If I'm driving my car and I don't want to wear a seatbelt, I should be able to do that.
I agree.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I hit something, the only thing bouncing around the inside of my car is me. And,
right.
You know, probably a couple of Red Bull cans or something. You know, old slice of pizza. But then if somebody rides with me and I don't wear a seatbelt, they wear a seatbelt, get in an accident, I fly across, hit them, kill them, I'm alive, then that is on me.
That's a little different, yeah.
That's because my rights or my freedom has affected their right to live.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when it starts to, like, when my freedoms encroach on somebody else's freedoms, then that's the problem.
That's where you draw the line.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not my freedoms in the privacy of my own home doing my thing that has no real effect on anyone else besides myself.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then you just go, well, we're not. It starts to feel a lot less free.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's
That's the importance of technology and information.
Yeah.
Because people can see through the bullshit.
Yeah, but they still have to fight the battle to change things.
Yeah, but I think I do feel like those things are getting better.
Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of ways. I mean, in some ways maybe not, but I think data is sort of a catch-22, I guess, because in some ways we're losing freedoms because we're losing a lot of our personal data. Mm-hmm. But in other ways, we're gaining freedoms because people are realizing, like, oh, okay, well, people should be able to do what they want to do as long as they're not affecting other people's rights. Because that was the idea of the Constitution, was really to protect your rights as an individual and allow you to be free. And so you do what you want to do unless you're doing something that's going to affect me, and that's where they draw the line.
Yeah. Yeah, but then going back to
instead of saying, well, I don't want you to do that because I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That then if you bring in morality.
Yeah, because what you think's right, I may not.
Yeah,
think
it's like
right.
legislating morality.
Yeah, and you can't do that.
But we're now at a point where with belief systems and with being in a Christian country, where there's a huge, massive amount of conservative Christian organizations that have power in the halls of government.
That's true.
Yet pay no taxes. Yet when there is a bailout like we had, are able to access funds. It's like,
it's weird.
You've not fed into this machine that we all, you've not fed into the pot in the middle, and now you still want to eat from it. You've only been taking the entire time.
Yeah. And
you're also pushing your agendas, regardless of what they are, pushing your agendas forward through captive audience that I speak my message to every week, and also have now reached a status where I can have friends that are in government that I can start to influence things that move in a certain way.
Yeah.
And whenever there is the history of people going, politicians going to churches and speaking goes back as old as this country, because that was traditional gathering area in most towns. So it may have started off somewhat innocuous, but now it's pretty clear.
Well, it also goes back too, as the point of that back then was really to keep people peaceful.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you research like the way the Bible was canonized, right? It's canonized 329 A.D. Catholic Church, Council of Nicaea, picked 66 books. What books do they leave out? Rome is annexing populations at faster than any military power has prior to that.
Yeah.
How do you control people that don't speak your language and don't pledge loyalty to Rome except under duress? How do you control population?
Through religion.
Through belief.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Oh, okay. We'll take your book. Sure, we'll put it in our book. We're going to hold on to this though. We'll tell you what it says.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll tell you what it says.
Yeah. Because actually, most people couldn't read back then either.
Yeah.
So
and
so I guess there were
the highborns didn't read. They had readers.
It was the priests controlled the ideology, of the people.
And hasn't changed much.
No, it's true.
And that's risky because like you want to take that's like an idea out like that, right?
Well, that changed with Luther.
Martin Luther, yeah.
Martin Luther,
where
yeah.
He put his thesis on the.
He told
church
people,
door.
he's like, you don't need the priest to tell you how to have beliefs. You just read it yourself.
Or you had the Church of England where King George III was like, I want to marry her. I want to divorce my wife and marry her. So I'm going to start my own church. It's fine.
Yeah.
In my church, I can do that.
Yeah.
Silly
people.
Ideas like this is it's like thin ice for a lot of people because people really hold their beliefs sacred, and I respect and appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I just want to be able to take ideas like this out and discuss them.
Yeah.
And have a conversation about them, and not be snarky.
Well, that's part of religion, though. You're not allowed to discuss those ideas. You can't question your ideologies.
That was where I broke with it.
Me too. Yeah.
That was where I broke with it because I would have a question, and then I would pose a question like, why can't I watch a movie, to the leaders, and it was like, well, you're being disrespectful. Well, how?
Yeah.
I think it's a respectful question.
Yeah.
I think it's a valid question. I'm young and I'm trying to understand things. Also, if God created me and He blessed somebody else to write this book, I think this question is pretty much a softball for him.
I'm a very curious person, so if I'm not allowed to ask questions, I have a problem.
Yeah, and it's like if I can't ask you a question, and then because I ask a question, you give me a softball answer, I see holes in the answer, so I ask a follow-up question. Now I'm being contentious and disrespectful. No, this is how conversation works.
Right.
This is how learning works.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to understand. You just don't have an answer.
Yes.
And I'm asking questions that you don't have an answer for other than because I said so, which doesn't work for a guy like me.
Me neither. Yeah.
All right. And so I go, well, okay, this conversation, I'm now of an age where this conversation, I have a thirst for information and I'm not being fed. So I'm going to move someplace where I'm going to go where water is,
Yeah.
And so that's where I broke with it, was the inability to ask what I thought were critical questions for my mind, which just turned into me being rebellious. I'm like, no, you don't understand my heart. My heart is that I want to be good and do good and be kind and.
You care about humanity. You care about people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's.
But because I'm asking you a question that you think is me being rebellious, then that's your preconceived notion of who I am, and I don't think anything other than being a yes man is going to change that.
Yeah.
And that's just not who I am.
Yeah, that's why I think in this age, religion is becoming less relevant because you don't have to have religion to be a good person, to care about other humans and respect other people and care about humanity and the future of humanity.
Yeah.
You just have to we all have to realize that we all have the same basic needs. We all want to survive, and well, really, like any species, our goal is to thrive and succeed as a species. So the more we cooperate and work together, and the more compassion and empathy we have towards each other, the more successful we'll be. Yeah. And I think with technology, we have increased empathy because we're exposed to each other's problems more.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot to take in.
It's a fine line too, because there's the exposure of seeing other people's problems, so you identify with them. And you're like, oh, they have a similar problem as I do.
Yeah.
So there's that.
You don't feel so
that
alone.
empathy that
maybe.
you have.
Yeah.
There's also the fine line of flipping over to being desensitized by it, because it happens all the time. Nothing's going to change it.
That's
Here
true.
we are.
Yeah.
You know? And so therefore, why should I fight it? It's just going to keep happening.
Yeah.
You know. And I think that one of the good things about being locked down and having COVID happen and the things is what I started to do was get pretty introspective about the important relationships in my life, right? For my 20s and 30s, I had a really big, what I'll call a radar screen, right? It's like you imagine there's all those bogeys coming in, you know. Yeah, I got them. You know, have you ever seen the movie Pushing 10 with with Billy Bob Thornton and John
Cusack.
John Cusack, yeah. They're both air traffic controllers, and Pushing 10 they're trying to bring planes in for landing, and so it's like watching all these planes come in for landing. Yeah, I got you. I got all these things. As I got older, the less interest in having that many bogeys on the screen, you know, and then I realized, no, my screen's smaller. Screen just got smaller. There's not enough room for everybody, you know. And having the COVID situation, I just started like honing in on that and going, okay, still a people person, still out there, you know, love and care for everybody. I just don't have the capacity for everybody.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have the desire or even the knee-jerk response to love and care for somebody. It's just the capacity for how many people that I can possibly invest in the way I want to invest.
Yes.
So the screen just becomes smaller.
It's a great analogy.
You know,
It is actually, yeah.
and so I just go, I still have love for everybody. There's still all those other planes in the air, but I can't really pay attention to them because I gotta land these.
It's where time becomes, you understand the subjectiveness of time.
Yeah.
Because when you're really young, time seems like it's just infinite. Mm-hmm. Like you just have an eternity of time. But now it just seems like it goes by so fast because we have less of it.
Yeah. Well, I've always had a mind on that. Like this tattoo is about that. It's
a
busted hourglass. And I got this probably, I don't know, I've had it for 10, 11 years, something like that. And I just noticed that, like, you know, 12 kids that are 12 want to be 13. There's something about being 13. They want to be a teenager, right? Yeah. 13 wants to be 16. 16 wants to be 18. 18 wants to be 21. 21 wants to be 25. 25, somewhere around 25, people start going, whoa, this is moving real fast.
Oliver Stone.
Yeah. This merry-go-round, I want to get off. I want to get off this thing.
Yeah.
And everybody starts looking backwards and going, oh, man, I wish I was 21 again. Oh, that was good times, you know?
That's almost a direct quote from the movie Born on the 4th of July.
What was it?
What you just said. When I'm 15, I want to be 18. 18, I want to be 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
I
it's a Tom Cruise monologue.
oh, man. Maybe I should do that one.
It's a good one. I've done it.
I didn't know. I mean, that's very...
But that's true, though, and it's...
maybe that was one of those subconscious things where I watched that movie years ago and it stuck in my head. And
Maybe.
the analogy was there.
Yeah.
Plagiarizing, sorry. But yeah, it's just like a thing of just like enjoy the moment you're in, use the time you have. Because like I think about it now, like I moved to Charlotte when I was 19.
Wow.
I moved to Charlotte when I was 19. That was 25 years ago, this summer. 25 years ago, right? I'll be 45. In 25 years, I'll be 70.
No, I think about those things
And
too.
70,
I try not to.
70 feels 70 feels so far away.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you say the number 70, it just feels like everybody I know that's 70 is like, oof, you know? But I'm 45 and I look around and I go, well, when I was 20 and I was looking at 45-year-olds, I don't look, act, behave, you know, any of the behavior, any of the life choices like anybody that I knew that was 45 when I was 20.
Yeah.
You know? So I guess I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Guess I'm doing all right. I guess I stopped the clock somehow.
Yeah.
You know, just enjoyed my life. But I think with the COVID thing, I just realized like, okay, these are the people that I'm investing in now. Still mad love for everybody, but just not enough space on the screen.
I like
Right.
the way you went about it because I think I did the exact same thing, but completely differently, and completely different analogy. But I mean, you literally just my circles have been filled up with people that are similar goals, similar aspirations, because you just don't have time for all these other distractions, right? And you can love people. I've got family that I haven't talked to regularly in years, right? And it's there's a blood relation, but there's just not a direct. You know, we're on different paths. We're completely different people. We're doing completely different things. We find things completely that are important, completely different.
Yeah.
Right. So, it just became at some point for those people, for me to keep the relationship on both parties, it became a chore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and it was like almost out of obligation.
It's not even maintenance anymore.
Right.
It's like actual work.
Yeah.
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 So one of the most freeing things that ever happened to me was being okay with a smaller circle. To borrow your analogy.
Well, I mean, I think I don't think I think I borrowed that from somebody else too. So
Yeah.
feel free. You know,
All information is shared.
No,
right?
no new ideas
Yeah,
really.
that's
It's
it,
just
yeah.
it's all like, oh, that makes sense.
Or what are ideas?
It's all like when analogies.
Where do they come from?
Analogies are just like like word pictures, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if I can create a word picture, it'll probably be clearer than if I just say it.
See, that's what in 20 years from now, when all the technology is in our brains and we're telepathic, you won't need analogies.
And somebody says a radar screen, they're gonna be like, "What's that?"
You won't even say anything. We'll just know. Like we'll sit here for like 10 seconds, and that's the whole podcast.
We'll see you next week.
And it just uploads straight to the web.
Make his job easier.
Either that or we'll all lobotomize ourselves because it's just too much.
Yeah.
It'll just be too intense.
Yeah, I think like, do you ever have the situation where you experience something happens, right, and you experience something, or somebody says something, and going back to the conversation earlier about physiological response, right, and you have that internal leap, whether it be good or bad, how do you process that? Do you go back and look at that and go, why did I respond that way? If I'm responding negatively, why am I responding? Because responses, like they're all like, it's all a primal thing, a survival instinct.
Yeah.
And so with all these things we were talking about religion and science and all the other things, whenever I have like a negative response to something that is not reasoned, it's just immediate. It's like that hot button flash. I really I hone in on that, and I spend some time thinking about it. And a large percentage of the time, I find out that it's just the result of old programming.
Yeah.
Some things that I was taught were supposed to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Ideology.
And then new information comes along and just kind of jams that circuit, and you just go, "Oh," and it's like it's uncomfortable, right? And the knee-jerk response is like, "Nah, that's fucking wrong."
Yeah.
But if I think reflection, and upon reflection, you can go, "Oh, it's actually more right than what I was thinking."
Yep.
Right.
So I need to spend some time weeding this garden out, because that's going to come up again if it's a new idea and it's going to become prevalent. It's going to come up again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end up if I don't. I think that's getting old, is when you just kind of lock in on your ideas and go, well, this far, no further. I don't need any new
I don't want
stuff.
to get there.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I want to have an open mind. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's something that our society really needs more of, is introspection.
Yeah.
Like, people need to pay attention to what they're thinking and why.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so many people are just autonomous with their thinking. Like, they have it's almost like a tribal mentality. Like, all my people are thinking this way, so I'm just going to think this way too.
Yeah.
But nobody knows why they're thinking that way. Like, you should at least have a solid reason why you feel a certain way about something. And a lot of things are really subjective too. Like, all of society's issues and problems they're not just cut and dry. They're very complicated, complex problems and things that we're trying to solve. And instead of being angry and aggressive and divisive about these things, we should all be trying to figure out, why is this so difficult to solve? Like, what?
I think that anger sometimes doesn't become. I think sometimes it just doesn't come from people's like inability to want to think about it. It's they don't feel like they can.
That's true. It's
like
frustration, maybe.
They're this far and no further has shut them down from any critical thinking, and it's like, I don't know why I'm angry, just angry, and now I'm angry that I'm angry. And it's just cyclical, and it's like, just breathe through it, man.
Yeah.
And because critical thinking, is like any other skill set. I think
that's true. Yeah, and it can be exhausting too.
It's exhausting.
Yeah,
and it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people.
Yeah,
there are large periods of my life where I was like, I don't think I'm thinking about anything right now, except the fact that I'm not thinking, which is weird. And then you're just like, and I'm not drunk, and I'm not doing anything else. I'm just sitting here like, just white hum, and it's like, I feel like my brain should be active right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be, and I think a lot of times I have no scientific.
I feel like I have the opposite problem, man. I'll be by myself, and I'm just like, I just want to shut this thing off, man. Like, it just will not stop.
I have those too, but I have periods. Like I definitely have the time where it's like, okay, shut up so I can go to sleep. But I have no scientific evidence to back this up. But like, I think that if I stayed in that state of like, sometimes we'll talk about something and you'll bring up a point and I'm like, and it's like lights on, nobody's home, and I can't go there with you right away. It'll probably rattle back to the surface again, but you dropped a rock in the pond and the ripples haven't hit the shore yet, and I'm just like, so but there are times, because I know that about you, because like you'll sit up and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I'll get some sort of message about some weird thing that you're looking at. Not even weird, but just like some new thing you're looking at. And I'm like, I wish my brain worked that well. But I think that if that's my experience, it's just anecdotal. If the experience for somebody else who has never really exercised critical thinking, and then they get something that is kind of an affront to a belief system or something that they have invested large portions of their life in, they're gonna have a real strong response to it without any, like, that knee-jerk response, without any
reasonable
without a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
And then it's that every time I've had like a knee-jerk response to something and then reflected on it and then realized I was the asshole, it's kind of like pulling in and going, when first day I saw you,
I've done it many times.
Realized I was the asshole. Then I felt shame and felt embarrassed. And so it's this cyclical feeling of negative emotions about yourself. And then it just results in, Argh! So maybe their response is, that anger response isn't necessarily to the idea. The initial response was, but then it cycles down into, Argh!
I'll get that way because of, I guess, ingrained ideologies from my childhood and stuff. I'll maybe get defensive about something or have a negative response to something. And it's, it's sort of blinding because, it's your amygdala blasting out adrenaline into your brain. Yeah. And it kind of like, it lowers your cognitive ability, but then once you get past that, you're like, okay, why did, like you said, why did I react that way to this? Yeah. And then you analyze it and you think, oh, okay, well, I feel like I'm not looking at this in the right way. Like, I need to be more receptive to this, or maybe look at it from a different angle. So I'm constantly trying to look at every issue from a different perspective and questioning why I feel a certain way about, that issue. And But I think that's how you solve problems.
Yeah.
I mean, he and I talk about problem solving a lot. And that's what we do for a living. We just solve problems.
Yeah.
But I think that's what humans do also. We're all creating and solving problems.
Yeah. I think about like those responses, and I've done I guess I was maybe a hothead when I was younger, for whatever reasons, and I've done a fair amount of work trying to put roadblocks up for things that would be those hot button things. In terms of like if somebody hits one of my buttons, I'm not going to respond to that. You know, having the wherewithal
Pick your
to
battles.
do that. You know,
Yeah.
and then there are others that I've made an agreement with myself that they go right to the front. Like if somebody does X, Y, Z, I'm letting that one through. You know, and usually have nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
The ones that I've kind of determined that they don't have anything to do with me are the ones that I go, I'm going to let that affect me in that way because I feel like it's justified and right. For instance, like physical violence towards children or animals or ladies.
Right.
Like I don't have a real strong I don't have a real strong barrier against that.
No.
Like I've working in the bar industry, working in the concert industry, you see stuff happen all the time. And having friends that have been assaulted and things that have happened to them, I just go, well, if I see it going down, I'm going to handle it. There's not enough time to go, excuse me, sir, can you help her over here? No, I'm just going to handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
And have made not the justification, but made the decision that it's justified in the right way if I handle it the right way. And if something happens, I'm okay with the consequences, you know, and have had to put that into play a couple of times. And it usually mitigates the circumstance, and then they all go home together anyway.
Yeah.
But at least I didn't have to watch something go down that I wasn't okay with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not like, I did security for, you know, bars and music venues for a while. And it was just like, it got to the point where it's like, okay, I've got a pretty good spidey sense for when the room's starting to move and things are going to start to go down. And then when you're in public, you don't shut that off. And so I was like, okay, cool. These are the things that I'm going to allow through. I'm also probably going to not go out as much. I don't want to see that.
Yeah. You know, it's when you're talking about these types of things, these reactionary human things, characteristics. I had a really interesting experience this past year where I kind of, it was almost like, it was an experience where I when it happened, I was like, oh, how much are we really in control anyway? Because I got home and I reached up, I was reaching to shut my garage, and I got this fear sensation, and I pulled away. And then I saw a big spider on the garage button. I was not cognitively aware of the spider when I had the fear response and pulled away. And I saw the spider after I had the reaction. And I was like, that's really strange.
Yeah.
So it kind of made you...
I'm getting itchy over here.
It makes you... So it kind of makes you feel like in life, the ability to be conscious and consciously aware, mm-hmm. and be able to make choices and decisions and analyze and self-reflect and all this type of stuff. It makes you wonder how much control you really have, mm-hmm. as opposed to how much you're just a passenger on the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of the passenger on the ride, right? Like we're talking about like ideas and things like that, and we were talking about like jealousy and all these feelings, like body image. People have body image issues, right?
Yeah.
And we all do.
We all struggle with it.
And the way I like to think of it is like, this is my spacesuit. This is what I was issued.
Yeah.
So it's probably the coolest thing I'll ever have any sort of control over, right?
That's
Actual
true.
control.
Yeah.
And then that can be taken away like that. So on the days that I start to think weird, because like when I was in high school, I'm 6'4". I weighed, before COVID, I weighed 240. I weigh like 215 now, which was pretty cool to have, that.
Yeah, you look good, man.
And I was like, thanks, man. I appreciate it. But it was cool to have that and it be not like I was just eating like a rabbit for a long time. It was just work.
Right.
But doesn't mean that doesn't quit spinning up here, right?
Yes.
But
Probably works better now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll find out. But whenever I start to have like thoughts about that, because when I was in high school, I was 6'4" and I weighed 165.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
240, 165. That's 75 pounds.
Big difference, yeah.
Huge difference. And same frame. Nothing changed except the weight.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about, regardless of where I'm at, I mean, health and trying to do well and trying to live well and trying to feel good, regardless of whether I'm at and anybody thinks of me, it's still the coolest thing I own.
That's true, yeah.
And it's just what was issued to me. I didn't have a say in the process,
Yep.
I got the skinny legs. Like my friends used to, they'd be like, hey, man, you got a string hanging from your shirts. Oh, never mind. That's just your legs. As friends will do.
Yeah.
They'll give you the most shit.
Those are the good ones, most likely.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right,
Those
yeah.
are the ones, you definitely ones you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, as I've gotten older, you do battle with those things. Like I struggle with that. I struggle with the fact that I was skinny. And I think probably why I was like such a hothead when I was in my 20s was I started to feel myself a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
I knew going from being the least intimidating, 100-pound weakling on the playground to being able to handle myself. It's a huge like pendulum swing, and not knowing what to do with with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't even great power. It was
Yeah.
just an extra 50 pounds. And I was like, I knew I could throw it around and be intimidating a little bit. But like,
Yeah.
it turned me into, some darker sides of that,
Right, yeah.
and got in fights. And
I think you go through those
Stupid.
egotistical
Oh.
8 years in your late 20s, like mid to late 20s.
yeah. And then you break enough bones on yourself, dislocate a shoulder, see somebody else get hurt.
Get hit by a car.
Or you throw that punch, and as soon as you throw the punch, I mean, you get hit by a car.
Yeah.
I wrecked my motorcycle.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You realize that shit hurts, man.
Yeah.
And I want to
Yeah.
do things that don't hurt, and I don't like hurting, so I'm not going to hurt other people.
Take care of your brain container.
It's in your spacesuit. Yeah, I mean, when I wrecked mine, it was my 5th ride. I had a Kawasaki Vulcan 1500, and I was getting ready to take it. I had my truck and a trailer backed up. I was going to take it to Atlanta and trade it to my little brother for a Toyota 4Runner. I was like, yeah, I could use a 4Runner. That'd be fun to drive around. So I go out, pick up the bike. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take it one more ride.
Oh.
Always happens. One more ride, man. And and it had rained earlier, but not enough to wash the oil off the road. It would just a little drizzle, kind of raise it up. I go down. I'm coming back up. It's in my sister's neighborhood, and they lived out in Monroe. I'm coming around this curve, back tire loses grip, and obviously not an experienced rider. I'm on my 5th ride, so lock up.
Oh,
Back tire goes, hits the crash bars, and it's off like an ice skating rink. And fortunately, I hit how I did, because every mailbox in their neighborhood is one of those ones with
it's a brick
brick
mailboxes.
mailbox. And I low-sided. I hit the grass between the mailboxes, low side, and it threw me off on wet grass, slid, flipped over. And you talk about like not, that pulling your hand back for the spider. I didn't know what was going on. I was like freaked out and sliding, flipped over, and I remember that it all is recollection. It's not like I knew what was happening and ninja'd my way out. But I remember looking up and the bike coming at me. And I jumped out of the way and the bike landed where I was. And I got up, stood on the handlebar to try to bend it out enough to get the wheel straight, pushed it back up the hill, called my brother. I was like, I guess you're going to have to keep that 4Runner. And then sold the thing for like, I don't know, $1,200 or something. It's like, yeah.
Yep.
I've only been back on a couple bikes, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, the streets, so people texting.
Oh yeah, nobody pays attention.
Stuff like that happens too when you're usually that's more of like an early on accident.
Yeah,
typically, but I've seen a lot of those.
Yeah.
Riding with other people, but fortunately, I missed those.
Yeah.
I rode long enough and avoided those to not have that experience. But I've had a lot of close calls riding motorcycles on the street with other people not paying attention, people texting and switching lanes on you and stuff and pulling out in front of you.
Yeah.
And I've always been fortunate, except for the time I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to live,
Yeah.
because it was close. But I stay off the street now. I'll still ride in the trails, or if I had a track bike, I'd still do track days.
Yeah.
Kind of aging out of that now.
Yeah. Like I've got a bunch of friends that ride. Matt Hooker rides. My partner Logan rides. He's got a couple of Harleys, and most of the guys that I know ride Harleys. So like there's a group down in Charlotte called Prism, and at Prism Supply they manufacture custom parts for Harleys. And so like they'll go up and do these rides. And so when we partnered up, he's like, "You got to get you another bike, man." I was like, "Nah, I don't. I mean, it looks cool. I love.
Oh, it's fun too. Yeah,
I love
awesome.
motorcycles. I love engines and motorcycles and cars and things like that. But it's like if I could build a custom bike, I would probably want to park it and look at it. I just don't. It's also like I don't trust myself to handle it well, based upon experience. But also like those close calls you're talking about, I don't want to find out how dodgy my heart is. It's like,
Right.
Croak out on two wheels.
If all cars were fully autonomous, I'd feel okay with it.
Oh, then a Tron bike.
I trust the technology. Well, I want to have full control of the bike, but I trust the other technology to see me. I don't trust people to see me.
Yeah, I don't think I trust myself on it. I've ridden a couple of my friends' bikes. I've ridden. Matt has a Ducati Monster, and I've ridden that around a lot, and and that's fun. Third gear, like cool. But knowing that, like, if I just goose, it's going up. And he's got, he won't let me on the BMW.
Oh,
I mean, that he's got a BMW like a
Hang on a second.
900R, 90R, whatever it is, that he's done up. And it's like, I want to ride that. That looks cool because it's got leather saddlebags and stuff. He's like, nah, ride the Ducati.
Yeah.
If you ding it, it's fine. But yeah, I'd like to feel like I could do it and manage that kind of power, but I don't think I can.
I didn't trust myself on them because I was doing dumb shit. So I got to a point where I wasn't scared of it.
Yeah.
And I remember riding, so it was right before we had my 9-year-old, and a buddy of mine, and Shane was a much better rider than I was, but I remember this distinctly. And we get up on the rear wheel, we're riding wheelies, and we're splitting traffic. We're literally going in and out of, and it's on a, let's say 64, and I believe it's two lanes this way, 2 lanes this way. And literally, I remember a point where we were splitting, and one of us would be coming in to head on traffic to pass, and I was passing on the other side in between cars or off the shoulder. And we did that, and I remember just like really getting at it. And I mean, like that, we were doing some crazy stuff. And I remember going to the Myrtle Beach just around the same time, and then I think it was Highway 17. And then we decided, we don't have to wear helmets in South Carolina, so now we're doing whatever speed. Let's say $150, $160, no helmet. You wore sunglasses
Because your eyes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much pressure and tears and everything else. You'd have to have the glasses on. Other than that, you were like, boom, straight adrenaline, right? And then something happened, and I was just like, wife got pregnant, started, like, there was just this shift. And then I didn't touch a bike for, I don't know, almost 10 years. I bought a bike last year, bought a new Harley. I drove it from the Harley Davidson dealership to this building. I parked it. It sat there for like 7 months. I drove it one time to Sheetz, right down the road and back. And I sold it a year later from the time I bought it, basically for what I paid for it, and had the exact same tank of gas that I bought it with. So it just didn't recatch from me. So yeah. I don't know. And every time I got on it, that was all I could think about was the dumb shit I used to do.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 or 4 people that are really close to me that Like, Neil had his accident. I had another one that's got a broken back and all kinds of other stuff, wrecking a motorcycle. There's all these different wrecks. Yeah. I have another partner that he totaled. I have 2 separate people that work with us that totaled vehicles with their bodies, and then in addition to Neil.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you totaled the vehicle or not, but
well, my bike did.
Your bike did, yeah. So there's like 3 in our short group that probably shouldn't have lived through these motorcycle wrecks, right? And I was like, it just hits a little close to home for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you bought it, I was worried. I was like, man, you sure you want to buy a bike?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, I was talking about like, man, I kind of want to buy a bike. And he's like,
sure.
And I was like, if I'm going to take anybody's advice, it's probably going to be his.
Yeah.
Regardless of like all my friends that have them and have gone down on them that got some rash or whatever, it's going to be somebody who actually lost something and has.
Yeah. Road rash is not the problem.
Yeah.
Wrecking the bike, like, I mean, I drove. I was nowhere near the driver that Shane was, but I mean, I was extremely comfortable on that bike. And if you're going fast, the great news is that you don't have to worry about what's going on behind you, just what's in front of you.
Yep.
Right? So that was the thing on the bike. It was actually, for me, I felt safer going faster than everybody else.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people that ride, like especially crotch rockets, whatever.
Yeah.
That they feel safer going fast because as long as you are going fast enough and there's enough spread between cars that reaction time, you have time to react, you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just not the style I would ride because I like going fast enough, but like even in a car, like I like going fast enough, but like I've had enough car wrecks that I just like I don't want to feel that again.
Well, that's my issue. I couldn't go back. I couldn't separate.
Yeah.
And so I got on that bike the one time that I literally took it to Sheets, and I just remember the whole time I'm like, how's that person going to stop? Oh, there's a car coming in behind me. Are they going to stop? Right? Because I think about the times when I've been in a car and been rear-ended because somebody was texting and they literally ran right into my back. Well, if you're on a bike, that can be deadly, right? I remember getting T-boned because somebody ran a red light, again, texting while driving, right? So it's like all these things, if I'd have been on a bike in any one of those scenarios, probably wouldn't live through it.
And also, like, if you were the same age 20 years ago and we're making that decision, you wouldn't have to think about the fact that with the people get distracted anyway. Yeah. But it's not like readily available in the palm of their hand, and also it's the feeling. There is that feeling of like I got to check in.
Yeah.
Check in. Like and that's why they talk about that. I forget what the psychological. They made a name for it, but for the feeling your phone is buzzing, even though it's not in your pocket.
I've experienced it.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I experience it. And you're like, oh, my phone's buzzing. Just so happens you're driving and somebody's in front of you on a motorcycle and you wipe them out.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, I was down in Florida, in St. Augustine, and a buddy of mine runs a bar down there across from the fort called No Name Bar.
Is that where we had our old fashions?
No, but it's got to be close to it.
Yeah.
It's his is like the right on the corner, right by like you walk out and you're standing on the patio. There's the fort.
The liquor license in St. Augustine's $1 million a license.
Really? Yeah. Well, they have a bar and a liquor store that's right there.
They're doing well.
Yeah, they're doing all right. I was on my way back up from Orlando and stopped and visit him, and then had a couple drinks. Went to the hotel, and we were staying out over the causeway. And get the suitcase out of the car, walking in the hotel, and hear, wow, and I look and see this Harley sliding down the street. And I was like, drop the bags, run across, looking for the guy. And he hit a light pole. And St. Augustine, it's 1 foot by 1 foot concrete. And the light pole went, snapped it in half, as well as one of those where they take the concrete park bench and put 2x4s in it.
Oh, yeah.
Snapped that.
Whoa.
And found him in the grass. So like he's coming around the curve here, light pole's here, little 2-lane road comes out here. He's in the grass on the other side of the 2-lane road, on his face.
Huh.
So I run up, and I'm like, my girlfriend at the time, like checking, make sure that he's okay, and he's breathing, not responding. And Buddy comes up on his motorcycle, and he's like, "Don't call the cops! Don't call the cops!" I was like, "Too late, man. Sorry, that's not. That's not your call. Like this dude is not getting back on that bike because his foot's folded sideways, and he ain't moving. So they got to get him help."
Yeah.
And so then he's like trying to, him and Ham, like, you do you, we're handling this.
Yeah.
You know, if you
Yeah.
want to do you, that's that. You know, and it was just one of those experiences, like seeing it happen and see like the power. It's like in a car. It's like a car stops moving, you don't stop moving unless you're strapped in.
Yep.
On a motorcycle, bike stops moving, you're still going.
Well, those situations, you see how weak our bodies are.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
We're
gonna
just
flip.
yeah.
And
just
I checked back, you know, because we were leaving
water
the next
balloons.
day.
Yeah.
Got his name, and I checked back in the news because, like, you know, cops show up at like midnight on a Saturday. News going to show up, so the news showed up. So I followed back with the news. He ended up coming through it fine. You know,
Good.
obviously he
That's
had
good.
surgery on his foot,
Yeah.
and I thought he was toast. You know, but it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe he was drinking. I don't know.
Yeah.
But even if it wasn't, there's a million things that go wrong. You lose
Yeah.
control of that thing, and you wipe out a telephone pole, a concrete telephone pole.
Oh yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I'll just give me a car that has some stuff around it,
Yeah.
and a manual transmission. I'll get my
And 30,000 people die in cars every year in the U.S.
yeah,
So it's all dangerous. But
it's all dangerous.
But you're a little more protected in a car.
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot more protected in a car.
yeah. And if
yeah.
I'm going to go fast, it's probably going to be on some place where it's not like I'm not whipping in and out of traffic.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Watch those videos of people in supercars doing their thing. You know.
Asshole.
Well, I always recommend going to the track, do track days.
I agree
because-
with that.
Yeah.
And when you do go to the track the first time, you realize how bad of a driver you actually are.
Oh, yeah.
When you have a professional to show you how to drive,
Yeah.
teach you how to drive, and you're like, oh, and you go really slow on the track too.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
in a Dodge was doing a thing a few years ago when they came out with the Viper, like they came out with the new Viper. It was right before they kind of did away with it, and I guess probably maybe 15 years ago, something like that. And they did a thing where you could pay to ride,
Okay.
and I was like, yeah, man, this would be fun. Did not go twice. Because all of my guts were to one sidewall.
Yep.
You know, it was like, and I was like, all right, cool, man. Next up, I know I can't go twice just because, and I love roller coasters and adrenaline and all that stuff, but like, I'm going to yak in the middle of this awesome car. So next up is like, go to Germany and pay somebody to drive me around the Nürburgring.
I'll just rent a car and do it yourself.
Oh, I want to do it myself,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I want to watch
Have someone show you first.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
then-
Yeah.
Get in the BMW
Yeah.
with the guy who does it all day, every day,
Oh, yeah.
and is a certified race car driver, and hold on tight and
Yeah.
just go. And then when I go, I'll be like, it's much slower, but I'm having fun.
But it's still fun. Yeah.
Because you know people wad up on that too.
Oh,
Fair
well, that's a pretty dangerous track.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sections of that track that aren't very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd still like to do it.
Still cool though. Yeah. I would do that. It's controlled. I mean, still.
Yeah, of course. You know,
Yeah.
if you get out of hand, I think they probably come out and get you. I mean,
We-
it's 7 miles. I think 7-mile track.
Something like that. Yeah, It's long.
It's a long one.
I know. From here, we're only an hour from VIR, and that's one of the best tracks in the country. It's up in Virginia,
yeah.
in Danville, and it's
But can you drive on it?
it's a car track. They do Le Mans races there.
Oh, but can you drive on it?
Oh yeah.
Like-
Yeah,
like
I've been up there a
me
few
driving.
times, several times. Yeah, I've been up there in cars and on bikes.
Well, next Lambo you get, we'll just. I'll be like, hey, I'm coming on up.
And I was telling Daniel he needs to go up there, but you just got rid of your Lamborghini. But
Yeah, I sold mine. Technically, I guess, it's sold Saturday, but
Oh man,
yeah.
bummer.
No, I made money on it.
I'm sure. Well, not about
So I got to use it for several months and put almost right at 15,000 miles on it, and
Yeah, just have fun.
it worked out really well. It was the obviously I think it's not the typical experience with owning that type of vehicle, but I had a blast. I actually miss it thoroughly, but
it was awesome.
What do you
yeah.
mean? That typical experience?
I think if you're going to buy vehicles in those price points and put 15,000 miles on them, you're probably going to lose your ass.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's just a very rare. I bought it during a very unique time in America, obviously in 2020, and then
So you bought it?
I ordered it from Italy in November of last year, but it arrived here a week to 2 weeks into the coronavirus.
And you still put 15,000?
I put 15,000 miles since that point. I drive a lot.
You were moving, man.
Oh yeah,
He drives a lot. Well,
I drive a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I mean,
just shy of
yeah.
15,000. and then was able to sell it, so it worked out really well. I think had there not be a shortage of cars right now, like for right now in Lamborghini Charlotte as of yesterday, every single car they have in their showroom, every single Lamborghini they have on their lot, they're all sold. They have no inventory.
That's crazy. Because they can't get any in.
They can't get it in.
Yeah.
Right. So my Urus, my Lamborghini SUV, when the moment we sold it, we put it up for sale. It was the only one for sale. Like even if you looked at Auto Trader, looked at stuff, it was the only one for sale in 5 states at the time.
Oh, so yeah.
Right. And they're bringing they're bringing the world.
Creates demand.
Yeah, they're bringing the world right now because even the 2021s that are coming in, they still haven't even finished shipping all the 2020s that were supposed to have shipped. The 2021s were supposed to drop next month. That's how far behind they are. And so it's even that they're starting to roll out, but very, very, very slowly. So you've got this huge demand for a product and nobody can get them. It's causing the used market to go through the roof.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like what we're doing with our residential properties right now. The demand is huge. We're selling all of our residential.
Yeah.
You know, and I was emotionally attached to the car on some level, but at the same point, now I've turned it into a good business decision, and I got a lot of life memories out of it.
Yeah.
So we did Blue Ridge Parkway with my kids. Like,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I did all kinds of stuff in that car. So for me, it was like, hey, it was a win. I made money. I got the experience. I got videos from it. I got pictures from it. Like I had life experience, and I didn't lose money. Hey, great. Let me cash out before that changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hold on too long and you lose.
No, yeah. I think as an entrepreneur, I think that's the number one thing is learning not to hold on for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Don't
I
get
still
too
struggle
attached
with
to
that.
stuff.
Getting too attached to things like
Yeah.
Except for your family or
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's
it.
like things that matter.
Material things can always be replaced.
Yeah.
well, let's say that you lost $1,000 doing something, or 10,000, or 100,000. The fact that you lost the $100,000, some people will make the decision to continue losing money
To stay with it.
to stay with it, right? And they'll lose hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
For me, it's like once some other outside thing has happened, which has caused a deviation in whatever it is we're doing, I can't do anything about at that point. But now I need to make a different decision, and I got to base that decision based on the information I have now.
Yep.
It's kind of like what you're talking about with religion. The problem is once you get new information, you have to be able to reflect and change your belief.
You can't. Once it's there, it's there. It has
Yeah.
to be
Can't-
reacted and responded to.
Exactly, and that was my issue with religion earlier. Was you guys were talking about it, but like you still have to take these other things into consideration, and they have to be part of your decision process. And that's the same thing we do in business. Like we've got to be really flexible, really fluid.
Yeah, and I'm mindful. Like when I do, we did touch on. I brought up religion and talked about it a fair amount, just because it was like the lion's share of my life before adulthood. Even into adulthood. But like it's never with an insensitivity towards anybody else's belief system, because my experience is my experience.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm reacting to my experience, but like I have nothing but respect for somebody else's.
Yeah.
While I may not see it as valid.
That's all, yeah. I
That's
think
for
people
me.
should, if they want to worship a tree or a stone or a person or an individual or a deity or whatever, I'm good.
Do what you want, man.
Matter of fact,
I'm good with it, yeah.
I'm inquisitive. I'll ask questions.
Yeah.
I'm curious. When people some people get offended when you ask questions.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking that from a place of curiosity. Like, oh yeah, tell me about Buddha. Tell me about this. Tell me.
Yeah. I'm intrigued.
I am too.
Whereas some people won't wait for you to ask the question. It's like they'll show up at your house.
Yeah. Knock on the door.
Yeah. It's like,
You're going to hell. Here's your Here's your pamphlet.
just, I've always thought of like anything like that. Not people.
They have the questions and the answers.
Whenever
Yeah.
people like are passing out anything, and I'm not talking about like just church pamphlets. I'm talking about like you're on the street, you're going anywhere, and somebody's trying to hand me a free CD to check out their new hit. It's like, here, you throw this away. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want that. Thanks, man. If I want it, I'll ask. I appreciate it. But it's always with the sensitivity towards somebody else's journey.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what makes life beautiful, is that my journey doesn't have to be yours or
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
and it doesn't even have like my journey is mine, and I can still change it.
Yeah.
I don't just have to. It's not a completely reactionary
Yeah.
existence. It's like I can.
I think
aim for
the
some things.
religions are really easy to recruit people because at its face, there's a lot of things that we can agree are important. Like, thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot of things we can get behind if you look at the Ten Commandments, you start looking at certain parts of these things, you can go, oh, well, this at its face value, I can agree with this, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why you said I think there's 15,000 religions. I think a lot of them have a lot of similarities about some of the ways we conduct ourselves.
Yeah.
Where I have the issue is when it starts to get into these really specific stories, these really specific things where they just don't make a whole lot of sense based on what we know today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've I'm gonna dip my toes in the water here. I think if you'll believe that God used a donkey to talk to a man to get him to change his mind, you'll believe that God could use anybody to do anything.
Yeah.
And therefore, regardless of the result of the mouthpiece, if somehow they become the darling of those who believe, there's nothing you can say to detract from that.
Yeah.
No amount of evidence, no amount of emotional appeal will detract from that belief, because if they are the voice of God, they're, well, he used a donkey, he can use anything.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're not dealing with
Yeah.
solid facts either. You're just
No, I know. You're dealing with like
ideas.
this, an allegory.
Yeah.
If you believe in an allegory as truth, then then how do you approach that? How do you?
There's no way to argue that or
you just
discuss
go,
it. Yeah.
Because then you become like, well, why would you speak so disrespectfully about the voice of God?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I just think that, like, I'm not being disrespectful. I just don't think you're thinking through this critically.
Right.
I think what's interesting about that is God and Julio in Mexico are using donkeys for completely different reasons.
Me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Oh man, sorry, Paul Simon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a terrible joke. But I was like, oh.
You went there, man.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, we got many uses for donkeys.
That's so wrong. That's so wrong.
Oh, it's a terrible joke. It's funny though. For me, it's one of those things like I'm laughing in my head before I say it out loud. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's
Look, I don't think that I'm necessarily a funny person, objectively, for a lot of other people, but I certainly think a lot of funny things.
Yeah, we got a sense of humor.
I think a lot of funny things. And did you ever see the Dave Chappelle thing where he the Mark Twain Prize, where he won the Mark Twain
Oh
Prize?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, it is so fantastic, and he talks about how our comedy is the greatest art form, and from Dave Chappelle's perspective, absolutely. Like you can totally, like he bought in hook, line, and sinker, and he made himself into who he is.
Yeah.
But he talks about how he goes, I have some friends of mine that are racist, and they'll say racist shit, and they're on stage and they're saying jokes, and he's like, ooh, they mean that. He goes, I may not agree with your point of view, but I can appreciate the artistry with which you present it. And I was like,
Wow.
that's some next level thinking right there, man. That's elevated thinking.
Yep.
Where you go, I don't agree with you, but I'll listen.
Yeah.
And I can be entertained. It's
Yeah.
it's like you can be entertained by it, but not necessarily buy into it all.
Right.
I just go, I disagree with your point of view, but you're say, it's like the comedian thing. It's like
Your delivery was on point.
comedians say funny things,
Yeah.
and good comedians say things funny.
Oh yeah.
So if you have a good comedian, they can say a lot of things that.
Well, yeah, if I'm
And
watching
they
a
can get a
comedian and
laugh
I
out
don't
of it.
agree with something they're saying, but it's really funny, I'm still going to laugh.
I'm still gonna laugh.
It's still funny.
It's like-
If it's funny, it's funny.
And I
you know?
also have a dark sense of humor too. I like.
Well, yeah.
I irreverent. It probably goes back to the religion thing. It's like I had to revere a lot of things that I didn't necessarily agree with for a long time. So now I'm gonna not necessarily hold them in. I say disrespect, but like not necessarily hold them in the highest regard.
Right.
So it's like all bets are off, I guess, if something's funny. There are certain things I just like.
I have a lot of that too. Just the nonsensical parts of society.
Yeah, it's like we're all like I'm a 12-year-old kid somewhere in here, and I still think a fart joke's funny.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. It's like Sorry, I
People
don't,
get
it's funny.
so caught up in their own shit, they don't see the big. They don't realize that we're all the same thing.
It's like, that's not funny. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not funny. It's like,
You're-
why am I laughing?
Yeah.
Why is everybody else laughing? You know?
Everybody's triggered today.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people walking. You know,
Microaggressions.
it's like it's like I think there are a lot of like walking wounded that are just looking for the knife to blame.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who's holding the knife? Who's holding the knife? You know. It's like, I didn't do that to you, man. Sorry. You know, but
Yeah.
like I'm not the enemy here. You know?
Yeah.
Yep. It's funny. Before we wrap this up, how has COVID affected you on the acting front? Like, how many auditions are you getting? Have you booked any jobs or worked on any projects?
Yeah. I mean, it was you know, for everybody.
Yeah.
Production wise, it was like, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
You know, I still taught class, have been teaching class, and will continue to teach class through this, like online and through Zoom. I booked and shot the new AutoZone campaign I don't know, month and a half ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And that was interesting because it was like it was a obviously high dollar production,
Mm-hmm.
and all COVID protocols were covered. Show up. They had, and it was interesting because they did it like less than a mile from my house.
Oh wow.
So it's funny. It's like they
Convenient.
gave me the location. I was like, sweet, I get to sleep in. Yeah. But they rented 3 houses, and one house was like check-in and craft services. Video Village was the second house, and then hair and makeup, wardrobe was all location. And
Okay.
so as soon as you got done with hair and makeup, wardrobe, you're right there on the location. So they didn't deviate from that. Everybody's wearing masks. You wear your mask when you start out, and they do your makeup to here. And then you take the mask, just take a deep breath. They didn't have to do much makeup here. I mean, any makeup they do to me is just going to be like painting the turd gold. You know, just like,
Brush your beard.
it's like, thanks for trying, appreciate it. You know, but you know, pull the mask down, they finish up, and then put your mask back on, and then they do touch-ups like on between cuts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Super for as what would have seemed to be some more stressful situation, it was super comfortable, and I attribute that to the director. She was fantastic, really fantastic director, and a lot of moving parts, and you know, all professionals doing their job. So that was cool. And then I've had a fair amount of auditions. A lot of productions are coming back online. They've got, and then I'm actually going to sit down next week with William Simmons, who's a young filmmaker that I shot a couple of shorts with him last year. One called Knuckles, and the other one called Righteous. And you know about Bent.
Yes.
There's a scene that happened that I was going to save and put it right for Bent and try to get things going. And I told him the story because it actually happened. It's a story that actually happened at Matt Hooker's birthday. And it was one of those situations where we're looking at each other going like, is this real life? Yeah, it's real life. Put that in a story. You know? So when I told him the story, he started dying laughing. He goes, I want to shoot that. I want to shoot that. I was like, I kind of want to keep it here. And then obviously production shut down, and you get the itch. You want to do something cool.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, man, we need to meet up because I think we should shoot this as a short. But it could also be a cut scene when we finally get Bent going.
Right. Like a
and-
proof of concept almost.
Yeah, and William is super talented. He just did with that Prism Motorcycles company that I was telling you about. He got picked up by Vice magazine.
Oh wow.
To do their video stuff for Vice magazine and Prism.
That's awesome.
And he's just turned 21.
It's incredible.
Young kid, and like serious, like fun and all that stuff, but like after having worked on a few films with him, he's like, he shows up, manages the set like a seasoned director. He's just, and not like mean, just like, this is what we're here to do. Let's go. Let's get this done. Chop, chop. Let's make it happen. All right. Good job, everybody. It's a wrap. It's
Awesome.
pretty nice.
Nice.
So we're going to try to make that happen here soon. And then, as with acting, it's always audition.
Yeah.
And then try to get wheels turning, because now that things are starting to open up, and we've had the benefit with Zoom, of being on these Zoom calls with like top level casting directors, top level
I've seen that.
actors,
That's cool.
top level agents, and if they're seeing your face, it's a point of contact, it's networking, they've been introduced to you. Whether or not they respond, it's like, hey, it was great. It's reaching out and
Planting seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ring the bell a little bit. And so getting all the marketing stuff together to make another big push that, since everything's kind of shut down.
Yeah.
Because I always felt it was a little bit, it's a little bit insensitive, I think, that if you think just because a casting director is willing to come on a Zoom that now I can just push into their world. They're also a human being who's dealing with their stuff, dealing with their response to this. Their family members might be sick, So it was like I took the tack of being a little bit more stay aware of what's going on, stay in touch with them as appropriate, but give them the room to be a human being and not just a business contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right move, but it was the right move for me. So
I think it is.
yeah, I felt like it was the right thing to do. And so now it's like, okay, we're coming back. Things are starting to move. I'm seeing your names on casting calls, which means you're working. So now it's time for me to, ring the bell a little bit.
Yep.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell everyone how they can look you up on social media? And
Sure. I am at, I don't even remember. It's Bryan Pierce on Facebook. I should be better prepared for this stuff, man. Got all involved in the conversation.
Oh, no worries.
And then on Instagram, you can find me at.
Gotta add them now.
Oh yeah.
Well, the one, my personal one is Gooey Kablooey 75, and that is from Calvin and Hobbes, Hamster Huey and the Gooey Kablooey. And then for acting stuff, it is _Bryan _Pierce _ and it's BRYAN _ Pierce _
Cool.
So pretty cool.
And do you have a website or
I do not have a website.
YouTube channel?
I don't.
Oh.
I'm so unprofessional, Neil.
Well, with Instagram, you don't need that. You can go to Instagram and see all your stuff.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like I spent more time really trying to do the craft than I need a marketing person. I just need to be like, hey,
PR person.
Yeah.
Well, if they go to your Instagram, they can see some of your films too. They can go through there and
the
find
links and all
links.
this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And a bunch of them, Disconnect, which was with Trey Riley, has won a bunch of awards. Lacey Caroline won Best New Actress, and she played my daughter in that. And it's won a bunch of stuff. Righteous has been nominated and won a bunch of stuff.
Cool.
So is Disconnect, or Knuckles.
Oh yeah.
And so working with some really talented filmmakers, young filmmakers that I'm stoked. It's kind of the conversation Jesse and I were having earlier about if somebody asks you to do something and they don't have a budget to pay, then I'm making that decision based upon like who you are, like as a person, like how do I feel around you.
Yeah.
And I've been very, very fortunate that I've been asked by some of the coolest, most talented filmmakers to be in their stuff, and I'm like, please, yeah, sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
please, thank you, and may I have another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been a blast, and seeing them get traction and get some shine is really cool.
Awesome.
So, may the trend continue.
Yeah, that's right. Well, dude, it was awesome having you on.
Man, it's
And,
great having you guys to my podcast. Thank you for coming.
yeah. So,
Awesome.
well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.